19 crowns. We'll have to figure that out. You should Google it right now while we're getting our jam on with the song of the show. What's up, everybody? We are here live at Bat City Comic Professionals on Austin's East Side, and we are here to talk about all of the comics that came out this week. There was not that many comics, but there was some good ones. Excited to talk about them either way. I am Shannon, aka Small Press Shan, and I am here with my buddy and co-host Wednesday Phil, here to wind down the weekend.
Hello, hello.
What's up, Phil? How is your week? What cool, exciting things happened to you this week?
Well, baseball is happening this year.
That is cool and exciting.
We were just talking about it. I'm very excited that the league and the players came together on some agreements. There's a few rule changes that I'm really excited about. Like the National League is getting the designated hitter as well, so that changes everything. Sadly, the second notification that I got from the MLB app after they announced that the season was happening was that the Los Angeles Dodgers are talking to Freddie Freeman right now, which would be very devastating to me because I hate the Dodgers. And if he is in a Dodgers uniform, then I'm going to be angry this season.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I'm going to fly to Atlanta and fire everyone in that front office for not giving Freddie Freeman the money he deserves. Because he is easily one of the best left-handed hitters in baseball right now. But yeah, baseball. That's the exciting. I saw Batman again.
Right, you saw the Batman again last night.
Yes.
Once again, if you have seen it, don't post any spoilers in the comments. We're waiting a little bit longer before we talk about it because I know there's a lot of like diehard comic fans that still haven't gotten to see it yet. So
yeah, my friend who is a huge Batman fan didn't get to see it until yesterday, and I was surprised he was able to go a week without hearing anything about it.
Yeah. Anytime somebody comes in and they're like, "Oh, I haven't seen it yet, but I don't know like anything about it yet," I'm like, "I'm so proud of you." Like, because we made it without seeing a trailer or teasers or anything like that in the 5 billion years that we waited for that movie to come out. So the fact that people are able to continue that by not seeing anything from the actual spoilers from the movie, like, that makes me really happy. I'm like, we're doing a good job, people.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people have been doing better with this one than a lot of the other ones at not spoiling it.
I think it's because people care less about the DC movies.
Yeah.
You know, it seems like every time a Marvel trailer comes out, like, the whole world stops. But, I mean, I knew people who I was like, "Oh, you're going to go see this movie, right?" And they're like, "No, who cares about Batman?" Like,
Yeah.
There's so many Batman movies already.
There's a lot of Batman fatigue.
And I get that, but this comes from the same group of people who watch the 900 Star Wars shows that exist. So I don't understand that conversation at all.
It's an interesting thing. You pick and choose your fandoms, and I definitely think that this Batman movie is worth going to see, even if you're if you're one of the people who's like, why are there 15 Batman titles on the comic book shelves? Like, but you're like, oh, I'm still going to pick up the Chip Zdarsky, like, Batman when it starts, even though I think there's too many Batman. I kind of feel the same way about this movie. It's like, yes, there's been too many Batman movies, but, like, this is like saying I'm going to get that Chip Zdarsky one anyway. It's kind of in that same caliber, like, of conversation.
Yeah. Well, the nice thing is, and I do agree, there's too much Batman on the shelf, so we even joke about the non-DC Batman titles. But the really nice thing, being a Batman fan, is that I don't have to read all of them, but that means that there is at least going to be one or two that I'm really into.
Yeah.
You know, so I have a chance to pick and choose, and most of the ones that I enjoy have been miniseries, so
absolutely.
I can't complain.
I definitely feel that's been the case with a lot of comics in general recently, is the miniseries are really crushing it. So,
yes.
And we've got some, I think, today that are getting started and finding their footing, so I'm excited about that. We are, since we're winding down your weekend, we are drinking this awesome bottle of 19 Crimes, which is Snoop Dogg's wine, if you didn't know. And this is the Cali Red. And the story for this one is 19 Crimes tells the true story of rule breakers who beat the odds, overcame adversity, and went on to become folk heroes in their society. This spirit lives on today through inventors and culture creators like Cali's own Snoop Dogg. A leader in contemporary pop culture, Snoop embodies the timeless values of the 19 Crimes rogues who came before him. And they actually say, like, to learn more about it, like, visit the website.
Mm-hmm.
And you said, I want to know more about this story. Like, what is this about? So,
well, I just wanted to know why it was called 19 Crimes in particular, and I actually looked it up. So it takes its name from the full list of infractions that would result in automatic exile for an 18th century Englishman. So that is where the name came from.
I love that he's got his wine, and then he put his girl Martha Stewart on his label too, and she has a Chardonnay that is on the Snoop Dogg label. And you said that they merchandise them together at the store, which is adorable.
Yeah, I do like that friendship somehow blossomed.
Mm-hmm.
And it actually spawned a reality TV show as well.
Yeah.
Which I was like, who wants to watch this? But then you watch it and you kind of like this dynamic because they, like, on paper, they're two polar opposite people. But when they get together, you're like, these people they're like really have a lot in common and they're really great friends. This is pretty awesome.
I saw a video from the Super Bowl with Martha Stewart, like, cheering for, like, during Snoop's performance, like, up and dancing and singing along and getting everybody in her area, like, cheering for him. And I was like, that's just what you need in a friend, man. You need a friend who's going to be there to support you and cheer you on and get everybody else hyped for you. Like,
yes.
It's cute. I love it.
Also, best Super Bowl halftime show ever, in my opinion.
Wow, I can't remember any other Super Bowl halftime shows, so...
That's fair. Well, everyone...
Oh, Matt says Prince.
I was never a big Prince fan. And I think that show was before my time. Wasn't that late, or like in the 90s?
2005.
Oh.
Well, you need to go back and watch that one, apparently.
All right. Well,
It started raining and the lights were purple and they were playing Purple Rain. And it started raining during the song Purple Rain.
Oh, wow. I'm sure he actually worked that out with Mother Nature, because I'm pretty sure that they knew each other.
It's Prince, yeah.
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 So,
for sure.
What do you think? What do you think of the 19 Crimes?
It's
I
good.
actually didn't fill my glass. I'm going to fill it before I hand it to you.
I really like it.
Yeah.
It's got a little bit of like a fruity sweetness in the beginning, but it's not overbearing. Typically the wines that I don't like are the ones that are like, it's too intense
of something
to
in
drink.
one direction.
But this is nice.
Yeah.
It's got a subtle flavor, and I'm a fan.
Yeah. We've got some people joining in. We had Dan join in who said hi. If you didn't get to make it out last Wednesday, you missed getting a chance to meet creator Dan Price and get to hear all about Bigfoot Knows Karate and get your copy signed. I'm sure if you come in and buy a copy, we could convince Dan to stop by and sign them, as he is one of our local Austin creators. But we had an absolute blast. And thank you to the other local Austin creators who came out to support Dan. I always love to see other creators coming in and just working together and talking each other up. And we had Drew Edwards, who is the creator of Halloween Man and who writes Halloween Man, in here, and he's just going around to everybody like, did you get a copy of Bigfoot Knows Karate? Because the creator Dan Price is back here and you could get him to sign it. And I'm like, I love it, Drew. You're out here like pushing other people's books, just being a good friend. Again, you got to have a hype person in your friends group, and I absolutely love that. And Brian Lassiter's here. What's up, Brian? He said, I respect your obviously wrong opinion of not being a Prince fan, Phil. So at least he's got respect for your opinion.
I'm a little bit younger, and I think Prince was slightly before my time. Outside of like the Batman soundtrack and his singles, Matt's played some songs for me too, and some of it I like, some of it I don't like, but
it's a very diverse and large musical history with Prince, and I think that you'll definitely find a ton that you like if you went through and sat down with all of it.
Well, it's kind of like Beck. Mm-hmm. Like, all the Beck albums were different. There's some Beck that I like, there's some Beck I don't.
Yeah. Oh, man. And both incredible performers when you see them live.
Extremely talented human beings. I would never go around and talk negatively about either of them.
It's just not your jam.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's totally fine. Speaking of things that don't have to be your jam, but we hope that you like some of them, we have new comics for this week.
Yes, we do.
Yes, and so we're going to do our usual kind of power through some of the books that are still ongoing and then kind of go a little bit more in detail on some of the new number ones before we get to our picks of the week. So we're going to start out with Vault Comics has Lunar Room number 3 out this week. This is a story of a girl who used to be a werewolf, but has somehow lost her ability to shapeshift. And she lives in what just seems like a regular, like, borough of New York kind of thing, but everybody's magical.
Yes.
And we've got a mage who has discovered a magical crystal that he's supposed to be protecting, but some reasons run away with it. And everybody is after that. If you like the formatting of What's the Furthest Place from Here, where they do the short chapters within the issues, this has that same setup where you go through about 4 or 5 chapters of the story. It kind of gives a breaking point, and I feel like this is something new comics are really pushing, like, right now. We've seen like 3 or 4 titles that are doing this, where it gives you that almost like commercial break in your storytelling before you go to the next thing. It's like, we've been following this character, now new chapter, we're following this other character.
It is nice, and because we will talk about this a little bit later, but sometimes with these indie titles, it's hard to keep up with what exactly is, like, what the timeline is. Mm-hmm. So I do appreciate that this was a tactic that they took for this book in particular, because you are trying to give a lot of information and really open up this world. This was a book that, with issue 1, I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to enjoy this. And then issue 2 started to get better. And it being a vault title, I'm almost like intrigued to keep going.
Yeah, and absolutely. I feel like when a vault book comes out, I just don't, like, I don't even follow the 3-issue wall. I just keep going the whole time.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, they have a point. Like, Adrian is a phenomenal editor. Adrian Wassel from Vault, he's a phenomenal editor. So I'm like, if he chose this book and he's, like, putting this book out, I know there's a reason, and I want to get to where it goes and see why. And this one, I actually really like it because it starts with a part, like in this issue, we kind of see her a little bit in the past when she was still a werewolf and how they pack work together. Mm-hmm. And by the end of this story, you kind of see a lot of character development from everybody in the story. You see a lot of their different backgrounds, but you do see that whole concept of, like, family sticks together.
Right.
Whatever that means, and how much that matters. And so you kind of get your first real werewolf pack vibe detail to this story, and mm-hmm. I really like seeing that because we are inundated with vampires again, and
we'll talk about that.
Yeah, and a little bit more with a little bit zombies coming back a little bit too, which zombies and vampires never really leave, but more of them getting a little bit more and more into it. Mm-hmm. And so it's nice to see some werewolf love and them actually starting to explore that a little bit more with her character.
Yeah, I definitely think this is one that, being a vault title, is progressively going to get better mm-hmm. as they open up this world a lot. But I would definitely check it out.
Yeah, and that's Lunar Room, and that's issue 3, so you're still plenty of time to catch up. Speaking of issue 3s and easy places to catch up, this is Junibos Monkey Meat from Image Comics.
Yes, issue number 3. So this is a really wonderful book. Right off the bat, it's Junibos, so I'm already sold because I love Bo's art style. But this is an anthology series that centers around the Monkey Meat Company, which basically creates a whole bunch of weird products, and they kind of have these stories that center around these different products. And this one in particular actually may be my favorite of the stories.
So far, it's my favorite of the stories.
So this features a magician child who was taken at birth and was raised by creatures of the forest. And when the child got old enough, they kind of kicked the child out into the real world, and that child became a delivery person. I think it's a boy. A delivery boy, and has to deliver this package, which you don't know what the package is, but it is of the most importantest. And the thing that stands in the way of getting this package delivered is a bridge troll.
A bridge troll.
Yes, and the really great thing about this is that they mention, like, oh, no living person has ever mm-hmm. crossed this bridge. And so how this boy actually ends up crossing the bridge is really interesting.
It's really interesting. It has that classic Fable kind of feels to this issue, but still keeps that modern like commentary that it has on big corporation. Right. Which is the whole thing with the monkey meat. I was explaining this the other day to Matt as kind of like a comic book version of The Jungle by Upton Sinclair, where we've seen the issue that was about the food quality control. Mm-hmm. And now this kind of feels like we're talking about Amazon a little bit and like your delivery practices, or even the old Domino's pizza 30-minute or less rule. You know, because there were those times where delivery drivers would get in accidents and the managers would come and just take the pizzas and deliver the pizzas and leave the kids and the drivers in the accidents. And it kind of feels like all of those things that we've seen about corporations throughout time have come into the construct of what we're going to do with this story, but then it is almost Fable-esque. It's like, hey, you know what? The modern version of the Fables is to kind of tell a story of these people who suffer at the hands of big corps. Mm-hmm. And here we are, like, seeing different stories throughout this anthology of just people who have been impacted by that and who maybe don't take the breaks that they need or don't get the health care that they need or don't, you know, we see all the weird decisions that the leaders take. And I love the amount of influence we see that Monkey Meat has in each issue, like in different ways. But the Monkey Meat Corporation is definitely leading us to very many stories. And really, this could go on forever, and I'd be happy.
I agree. And to this, honestly, I want like a second comic book series of this character in particular. Because I love the character design. It fits so perfectly with the art. And this was just a really fun story. And the nice thing is because it's an anthology, you don't have to have read issue 1 or 2 to really know what's going on. You just need to know that this Monkey Meat Company is kind of behind everything.
And they tell you that at the beginning. There is a little blurb at the beginning that says who the Monkey Meat Company is. It's like Monkey Meat Corporation does all of these things, and they've had some problems, and here's where we are. And I like that they do that. I love previous Leons in comic books anyway. But I love that setup for this one specifically. So if you haven't read 1 and 2, we do have them, but you don't have to jump into issue 3. And you definitely need to be picking up Monkey Meat. It's fantastic storytelling. Yeah,
and it even honestly start here, and I'd be shocked if that issue alone does not sell you 100% on this book.
Yeah, talk about a 3-issue rule winner.
Oh, nailed it.
If you weren't sold and then you picked up this one, you're going to be like, okay, well, I'm in. Primos, issue 2 of 4 from AWA Upshot. It's Al Magical writing it, which I know he was on Daily Show and a couple of other big comedian circuit kind of shows and things like that. And writing with AWA about a young boy who finds out that he is kind of the chosen one, essentially, to fight in a battle that the Mayans have been fighting in for hundreds of years, indirectly. Yeah. It's like they weren't really fighting it for hundreds of years, but we are fighting it still in the modern times, I guess is the way to say that. It's Kylo Barbary on art, Al Magical, and it's I love that they've given these two a great platform through AWA to just come up with some really great characters.
Yeah, and this one, I mean, this is a ton of fun. Mm-hmm. I really enjoyed the first issue of this because the kid that's introduced is kind of like, he almost feels like an amalgamation of all the Robins. He's got a little bit of Damian in him, a little bit of Jason Todd in him, and he's just kind of one of those, like, you know, a kid just trying to live his life that's now been thrown into this world with a really interesting backstory. And this issue is him kind of assembling the team. And you get introduced to his first cousin. So he's two cousins that he's going to track down. And the first one is cousin Javier, who is pretty much like a cool Mexican James Bond.
Yes.
And he is awesome.
He is super awesome. And I love that he can't stop like talking about how awesome he is while he's trying to tell us about him. He's like, and like, he's really cool. Like, I'm never going to be this cool. Like, it kind of reminds me of the way Reptile reads and
Right.
how excited he is to just be included in it. You get that same level of excitement from this main character. I just want to talk about all my cool people who are helping me out.
Yeah, and I love that several times he mentions, like, oh, this is maybe not how it actually happened, but this is how I'm going to tell it because it's cooler that way. Yeah, this is a really fun book, and the kind of history around why this story is unfolding is even cooler.
Yeah.
Because it involves Mayan brothers who, if I remember correctly, went into the far future, or they traveled to a distant planet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, it's in space.
And they were kind of given this technology that's going to allow them to improve Earth. But then they accidentally mess up and come back at the wrong time, and they come back into present day, and it kind of creates this feud between the brothers. Yeah, I highly recommend this book. This may be one of my 2 or 3 favorite AWA Upshot books that are coming out right now.
Yeah, this one's a lot of fun, and honestly, the second cousin that he meets. She's gonna be my favorite.
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah.
I'm showing these are the last couple of pages of this book when you introduce her to it, but she's gonna be, like, if you read this and, like, oh, Cousin Javier is a badass, he's not gonna be the most
He's
badass.
not gonna be the most badass, and I'm okay with that because she's gonna wipe the floor with everybody, and I cannot wait to see what happens.
Yes. Yeah. This is a great book, and the one thing that I do really enjoy is that there's a lot of, like, pop culture references, which kind of makes it fun. I think a bit, down the line, it's going to cause it to be a bit dated.
Yeah.
But I think in this moment in time right now, this is such a fun book. And I mean, again, this is a powerhouse creative team. And you have great writing. You have a great art style. It's so solid.
And you've got that AWA backing, so I'm hoping that this is another one of those. AWA is just on the rise. We'll talk about this a little bit in comic book news. It's just on the rise, and I hope that this is one that we see them go with. So.
Yeah, most definitely. Also, feel free, AWA, to continue on after the 4 issues.
They totally will. If you don't know, I'm gonna segue really fast for it. If you don't know about AWA and their formatting, is Axel Alonso, who used to be with Marvel back a long time ago, founded AWA and AWA Upshot, and one of the things that they talked about was Axel is very influential in the concept of the trade paperback. And getting that just as a thing that happened and has for every title and constantly and had that faster push to them. And so when they created AWA Upshot, the big thing was they wanted it to kind of feel like the way Netflix does at the time, which now it's more of the binge and drop, or even the way you watch a Disney Plus show where it's every week you get that new title and then it's all there in within a month if you want to go and read the whole thing as a whole. And so AWA puts it all in these small volumes, and it's usually 4 or 5 issues, and then a month after that the trade is already out, and the trades are all $9.99. And then it almost immediately starts with volume 2, usually a couple months maybe. Sometimes we've got a couple that are just coming back, which we'll I guess talk about as well. But it's really cool to see a publisher who also goes in and says on the cover, and I wish I had one right here. Oh, I guess I do, but I'm not going to get up. Hotel right now, it says Hotel Volume 2, Issue 1 of 5.
Okay.
A Hotel Volume 2, Issue 2 of 5. You know, so it still gives you how long that arc is going to be on the cover, which I love. Makes my life so much easier because people always come in and say, hey, how many issues is this going to be? And I'm like, let me look it up. And then it's oh, they didn't actually say, so I don't know. I love that they give you how many issues it's going to be. I love that they tell you what volume it's in. It's really easy to give you those starting points and to sell that. And so you can definitely tell these are people who have been in the industry a long time and have gone, okay, we're listening to what you're saying your problems are with how to sell comics or how to read comics, and we want to make that easier and more accessible. And I love that they're doing that. So read AWA. Another publisher that we are loving a lot recently is our friends at Red 5, and specifically the Stonebot imprint.
Yes,
and this is issue 2 of Merlin and Hector. It's the only Stonebot title, I think, that's not in a premium side. No, Carrier's. Is Carrier Stonebot too? No, Carrier's just a regular Red 5.
No, but there is another Stonebot title, and
That's not in the oversized? Okay, good.
Yeah.
I can't remember which one it was that's in the other. But either way, Merlin and Hector, this is your classic fantasy kind of story. We've got a young boy who in issue 1 meets another boy when he's trying to steal his goat named Thor. And he's going to eat the goat. Like, that's why he says he wants it. He wants to steal for food. He's starving. The two end up on a quest together to kind of stop all this bad stuff that's happening. They meet a girl. The girl seems to be kind of like a magical creature of some sort. We just don't know what she is in issue 1. But in issue 2, we find out everybody's backstory except for maybe Merlin's. We don't really know all of the details about why Merlin is so important and why he's tied to all of the events that are happening, but we are learning who Hector is and who their travel companion is, and some of more information about all of the people who are after them. And we see a lot of shape-shifting going on in this issue. We see a lot of magic. It's got that detailed art that really kind of draws you into the story, and keeps that fantasy realism, like fantasy, like world building, just kind of blowing up more and more with each issue, because it does kind of bring in these bigger than life characters, and the way they did the shape shifting in this was just absolutely fantastic. So we do have issue 1 of Merlin and Hector, so if you're a fan of fantasy books, I definitely think you should check this one out. I think Stonebot is the imprint to watch right now. Red 5 is definitely going to suddenly come out of nowhere and get everybody's attention, and I think, again, that Mega is going to be the one to really get that. But Red 5's imprint, Stonebot, is just kind of giving me all of the books that I really need. Absolutely love. Ooh, Fictionauts. That's
that was the other one.
Yeah, that's the other Stonebot title.
I was trying to figure out what the other one was that we were going crazy about when it first came out.
Yeah, so imprint, your Stonebot imprint is Mega, Fictionauts, and Merlin and Hector, and this imprint has yet to disappoint me. I'm in for everything. So Red 5, keep going with this Stonebot imprint because it's killing it right now.
Yes, please.
New Masters, issue 2, and you said you did not get to read?
I didn't, because I remember opening this and the trauma that I had from issue 1 of how much I struggled with trying to figure out what exactly is going on. So this is definitely one of those that I would like. I'm going to read, because if I remember correctly, the world building is what is really intriguing to me, but I did not get a chance to read this one yet.
Yes, this is a very, very deep world already. Issue 1 didn't just lay groundwork, it actually saw the entire thing go up.
Right.
And that was really, it was giving us more than one story at a time, and was kind of one of those where if you are going to read it, you need to sit down and read it and just focus in on it, because the story is really beautiful and it's really well done, but you have to pay attention. You can't just fly through it really fast.
Right.
And today I wanted to really take my time and read issue 2, and the characters are they're so cool, and we see a lot of this young girl who is kind of just trying to make it on her own in this world that's not safe for anybody. And it's, we're in the future, and this is it's Afrofuturism, much like Afar, which I did bring that trade, so we can talk about it a little bit later. But this is one of those great stories where we are kind of seeing that futuristic technology and how it's like impacting this culture and this part of their society that's like, we need to do this, we need to do these things, we need to make these alliances. You're seeing all of that normal world building from a fantasy story, but then you also get this sci-fi tech kind of drawn into it. And then this issue really gives us family dynamics, because the young girl has the parents who are the parent-like figures who are raising her, and they're all kind of embedded in some thievery. But it's like, hey, you stay out of this. We don't want you in this world, but there's no other way to survive in this world. So you kind of see where this girl is going to fall into the storytelling as this goes on. Very deep world. Definitely suggest reading issues 1 and 2, but taking your time with it, especially with issue 1, because if you lose any of the pieces of issue 1, it's hard to come back with issue 2, but thankfully issue 2 gives you more of the characters instead of the world. So now you develop that connection to it more so than you did when just reading issue 1, where it was a lot of the world building and you were like, where is this going? Issue 2 is like, okay, well, now I care about these people, so I don't really care where it goes as long as like the characters I like stay safe. Right. And I know they're not going to.
This is one of those books that I really love the art. I liked a lot of issue 1, but I think for me, this is actually going to end up becoming one that I trade wait for. Because it kind of reminds me of Tartarus.
Yeah.
Because I remember when you were showing the trade for Tartarus, and I read it, and I was like, this book is amazing. Like, I love this book. And I remember as I was reading, I was like, there is no way that I could have read this in single issues and been into it just as much, because there's so much information and so much world building. But this is definitely one that I am going to read. But as I'm even looking through this issue, I'm like, maybe I'll wait at least for that first trade to come out and then give it a read.
And that's something that's good to note. If you're somebody who sees a series and you think, oh, I really want to read this, but I need to wait for it in trade, make sure you let us or whoever your LCS is know that, because comic shops don't necessarily order trades for books that didn't fly off the shelf.
Right.
You know, if they don't know that somebody's waiting for it. And I've had a couple of people who are newer to comics who've come in and said, hey, well, you know, is this trade, I want to go back and read the series everybody's talking about. Like, is this collection available? Is this trade paperback available? And I told them no, and they're like, it's not that old. Why isn't it available? And I said, oh, because it was a small print run. Because most stores will say that they didn't sell the series very much, so they never ordered the trade. And I see a lot of the retailers do posts on like what they're ordering in retailer groups, and they'll say like, passing on this trade because this book didn't sell for us. And so that is the thing that determines it. So when you're talking to your comic shop and you know like you're going to wait for something to come in trade, make sure you let them know that, but also know that with a lot of indie books, if it doesn't sell at all, a lot of times they don't even get a trade. So that's another thing, is if it's something that you are interested enough to get a trade, talk to your LCS, let them know that. But if it's something that you're willing to read it in issue format, like, take that chance, because you might not actually get the collection of it.
Yeah, and I mean, you can also too, you know, read that first issue, and if it's intriguing to you, still pick up the single issues. You don't have to read them right when you get them. There's no rule that the moment the comic hits your hands, you have to read it.
Right, absolutely.
So you can definitely, you know, stockpile them. I'm sure you have a ton of other stuff you got to read anyway. So stockpile it, you know, maybe even wait for the third issue to come out and read 3 in a row. The nice thing is this is an Image title, so more than likely you will see a trade. But I don't think you should sleep on this one. It's going to be a little intimidating at first, but
it's worth the read.
I definitely think it's worth the read.
Yeah, sure. And that's New Masters, and like I said, this is issue 2. I do have issue 1. I think if you're interested, like, come grab a copy of issue 1 and check it out while you're even in the store.
Yeah.
And kind of get a feel for how big that world is going to be. But if you do pick up issue 1, I recommend scanning through issue 2 as well, because I think it tones down that overwhelming feeling when you get to issue 2. So
that's good to know.
Yeah. Switching gears really fast to a couple of big 2 books that are flying through this week. We've got issue 4 of Batgirls from DC Comics. This is Becky Cloonan, Michael Conrad, and the great and wonderful Jorge Corona on art.
Fantastic team.
This has been a fantastic series. It's Steph Brown, it's Cass Kane, and it's Barbara Gordon, all the Batgirls together, just on the run, but not able to stopping crime.
Right.
As much as Barbara would like it if they would stop getting in the middle of things, Steph and Cass just can't. So they are now in the process of solving some crimes in the new community that they're hanging out with, and to kind of lay low, which Steph Brown has never been able to lay low in any situation. Right. But this one's really cute, because at the very beginning, the bad guy the bookstore owner, I think it is, calls them besties. And Cass asks Steph, what does it mean to be besties? And so the whole issue is about them becoming, like, Cass coming to terms with what the idea of having a best friend means. And I was like, man, this is going to make me cry. This was a week of books making me cry, and this was definitely one of them that was like, oh my god, that was so cute. Like, if this was an episode of a TV show, I definitely would have been like, oh my god, like sending the clips to friends and stuff. And I love that it's their International Women's Day special issue, and it was just all about these girls working together and learning that they were just best friends and were there for each other the whole time.
Yeah, this has been one of my favorite DC books that's coming out right now, mainly just because I love all these characters.
Yes.
And I do love this setup because you get the superhero aspect of it, you know, the crime fighting, but you also get this like kind of sitcom-y vibe.
Very much so.
You know, with the conversations that they have and stuff, and it's just really great. Like, I want this to be a team-up book that just goes on forever. And even maybe once they end Batgirls, they just do, like, a cast and staff team-up book.
Yeah.
Because I want them in books together forever.
And I just have to say, I'm super proud of Bat City fans, because I've heard so many stores say this book doesn't sell for them, and I can't keep it in stock. So thanks, Bat City fans, for repping the Batgirls and loving them so much, because this is a great series, and it's our local creators, Becky and Michael, doing it. So I appreciate the continual support for them as well.
I mean, yeah, and this is one of those, like, a really amazing creative team on a title that I wouldn't have expected. You know, I kind of would expect this to be the creative team for the Batman title.
Yeah. Not
necessarily Batgirls. I think it's fantastic that DC gave that creative team this title.
I agree. Hawkeye, issue 5. This is Hawkeye Kate Bishop. This is the last issue.
Ooh.
Potentially we could see this keep going. This is one, like, it kind of ends on we can just start another arc of it, but this is the end of the arc with this Marvel title, and this is Kate has been helping her sister with a mystery that she needed to solve of a hotel that's just got these people who are mind controlling people, and Kate has to deal with going home. But in this one, we get the team up with America Chavez and Cassie, Ant-Man's daughter, Cassie. So we get to see her come into that. I love that they're building that up, because we do have Kate Bishop in the MCU. We do have rumors of other characters coming to the MCU, where we could see a lot of these younger West Coast Avengers getting their own show someday. However, in this series, they are all off of the West Coast and moving back to the East, because they've got some stuff to deal with back home for each of them. So,
yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong with Kate Bishop. I feel like a character like Hawkeye that didn't really gain any pop. I mean, you know, he first was pretty popular in like the West Coast Avengers back in the day, but I feel like people didn't really care about Hawkeye until the MCU and the Matt Fraction run. And I remember the first time I read Kate Bishop, and I was like, I want this character all the time.
Yes.
Get rid of Clint. Just give us Kate forever and ever.
I say that all the time, and I stand by that statement.
Yeah,
Kate Bishop is fantastic, and I love her genuine personality and just the way she reads, the stories read around her. It's just absolutely great. And what I love about the Hawkeye book is it's a great all ages title for Kate Bishop all the time.
And I feel like with the success of the TV show, they're not going to want to put an end to her character in comics.
Not anytime soon.
You know, like, I feel like they're going to want to keep her around, whether it's in her own title or if it's back at West Coast Avengers. I feel like they're going to want to make her a prominent character.
Absolutely. Next up is Daisy from Dark Horse Comics. This is issue 4 of 5. This is a crazy book that, if you are a fan of Jason Aaron's The Goddamn, you will like this book. If you thought Jason Aaron's The Goddamn was a lot, you will be overwhelmed by this story. Daisy is the story of a young girl named Daisy who is she's a giant. And she lives in this town, and all of the kids and all of the animals kind of respond to her. And they keep having, it's like a cult, like, small town. And there is a character that they call Father. And the father of this town is an angel. He's a Nephilim. And all of these kids have been trying to get away from him. They think they're going to be fine. And if they can just break away from this angel who is a fallen angel who they think is controlling them in all of the wrong ways. And some crazy stuff happens along the way, and every issue just gets a little bit crazier and crazier. And it kind of does feel like the Jason Aaron books for The Goddamned, where it's like, whoa, where is this going and what are you doing with it? And yet you can't like look away because it's got such intricate art and the story is like intriguing, but it's crazy and you don't really know where it's going and you kind of need to know. This is definitely one of those stories, but it is another one of those books where it's like, sit down and read this and take your time, because the story is deep and intricate and you're suddenly reading like Old Testament passages like told through comic books at times about those angels and giants and beings like that. So this is, to me, kind of the classic Dark Horse kind of book, honestly.
Right.
With the weird darkness and crazy storytelling. So, but it's definitely super cool, and I can't wait to see how they wrap it up in just one more issue, because I feel like there's going to be a really cool way that they do.
Yeah, I mean, the art on this book alone, I haven't been reading this one, but seeing these 2-page spreads, it's quite impressive. It looks cool. Now that I know there's only one issue left, I'll wait for that beautiful Dark Horse hardcover.
I was waiting for that.
Yeah.
The reminder that Dark Horse loves hardcovers.
Get
and
that
so
nice hardcover, so...
Yes. Almost to the end. The Good Asian, and that's important to say because originally The Good Asian was only supposed to be 9 issues, and a couple issues back he had a very intricate issue. This is issue 9 of Good Asian. They had a really intricate issue where it talked about Asian hate in America and just the violence towards Asians specifically. And when the writer turned that into his editor, it was only half the issue. And the editor said, you know what, we need to actually go further. You need to dive deeper. We're going to give you one more issue. Just take a whole issue to flesh out that story and really drive that point home. And we're going to move everything else back so that you can have a whole issue towards that. And I'm so glad that they did, because it was such a beautifully done issue of the comic. And now we are getting a little bit more time with these characters, and which is so great. This is the story of a detective, an Asian detective in the 1930s. And the creative team said that it was very important to them because in that time period, we always see these noir films and these detective movies, especially the ones, if you go back and watch these older movies from the 30s and 40s, they used a lot of the Asian actors to play in these roles, and they always had the Asian detective in the story. And the creative team said it was important for them to tell a story about an Asian American detective, because that wasn't actually something that was as easily accepted as the movies have always made it seem. This was something that you were hated by your own community, but you were still hated by the police force, and you were hated by the governmental officials. And so it was like, no matter what, like, nobody was on their side, and it was such a hard place to be. And so this is the story of one man who was raised by a rich white family and became a detective and kind of felt like he belonged in that society and felt comfortable with it until he got into his detective role and realized that nobody else saw him that way. And like the things his parents had told him to look out for his whole life, he actually needed to. And the whole series has been him solving one mystery, and it just keeps unraveling to be bigger and bigger as it goes along.
Yeah, this is a book that is definitely an Eisner winner. It ticks all the boxes. I mean, everything in this book, from the writing to the colors, are really impressive. And I do like that it's kind of rooted in, a lot of how the world was back in that time period. But, it's interweaved into this really great noir story.
Absolutely.
I think this is easily one of the best books that is on the shelves right now. And I kind of hope that even though 10 is the last issue, they maybe bring this back. And maybe we can get more series where it's him solving different mysteries. Because, this book is just so impressive. Yeah,
I love that on the back it talks about how this book was listed on more than 20 of the best the year list that came out for 2021. Mm-hmm. And it absolutely deserves it. It's so good.
Yeah, I can't, talk about this book enough. When people come in and they're like, what are some of the best books out right now? Good Asian is always on the top.
Always on the top. May I have some more wine while I
yes.
grab the next book? The next book being from Vault. This is issue 6 of Human Remains. It's a Peter Milligan story about aliens coming to Earth and killing people who have emotions, which is all of us. No matter if you think you're a person who doesn't like emotions or you don't have emotions, the aliens will confirm that that's not true. Anytime somebody has any kind of emotional reaction, whether that's happy, sad, angry, even like a couple that just gets married, like they can't go on their honeymoon because if they get too excited, like sexually, they're going to get killed by these aliens. And this is a society of Americans, mostly, that it focuses on trying to come to terms with how do we not have emotions but still live our lives? How do we not fall into that? While also trying to figure out the whole process with the aliens. And we follow this amazing scientist as she works with, she's trying to figure out, like, she's a virologist, and so she's trying to figure out, like, is there a virus that comes with this? Is there something that she can control, like we can figure out how to control the aliens from? And then, of course, you've got your government officials, and they kind of have a Independence Day situation going on where they're trying to find ways to communicate with the aliens and kind of getting mind controlled by the aliens in the moments where they get too close to them. And it's just, it's super interesting to see how this all plays out. And how, what sets people off, and what emotion are you willing to sacrifice for, and when do you lose control of your emotions? It's kind of a really just good commentary on how we don't really control our emotions, and there's nothing we can do about it, but we can't also go through life not feeling anything.
Right. Yeah, the art in this book alone it's fantastic. Mm-hmm. Vault killing it as always. Absolutely.
I'm surprised this isn't a Nightfall title, but it's not actually really scary. It's more of, like, it's not exactly horrific, but it is like aliens and monsters and people dying on every page essentially. So I was surprised it didn't end up in the Nightfall imprint. But it doesn't really feel like a horror book, honestly, because you do follow those scientists and you are following the emotions, not the monsters.
Okay.
So if you are like, I'm not into horror, but I like to skirt the edge of it, this is kind of closer to what you might like.
Do you think this will be similar to Witchblood, where it's 10 issues and then done?
I wouldn't be surprised if it's an 8-issue. And that seems to be kind of where Vault likes to stick a lot of the time, is those 8-issue series, because they can put it all in one trade. So I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't wrap up in the next 2 issues.
Okay.
So, 7 Secrets, issue 15 from Tom Taylor and Boom Studios. I have not put this on anything other than the in stocks for a long time, because it is on issue 15. But I just need to remind people that they need to be reading this series. And I do have volume 1 in stock, and I think I forgot to grab the trade. I think I have volume 1 and volume 2 in stock. But this is Tom Taylor, which, if you are loving Dark Ages, if you are loving Dark Knights of Steel, if you love Superman, Son of Kal-El, those are Nightwing. These are all Tom Taylor books. He's kind of all over the place, and he's writing an incredible amount of beautiful books. And you're missing it if you didn't grab 7 Secrets. This is the story of a secret society that has to protect the 7 secrets that will destroy the Earth if they get out. And we see, this woman and a guy that she loves in issue 1, or a guy that she's working with in issue 1. They're both the keeper and the protector. Because every secret has someone who holds the secret and someone who protects the person who holds the secret. And they fall in love, which is a big no-no. And they have a child. And so the child can't be raised by them, but it can be raised by the secret society. And then he grows up in issue 1. It kind of feels like Saga, where he's narrating, oh, these are my parents. They fell in love. And then he becomes a holder of a secret. And ends up in this massive war between people who defected from the secret society and the secret society, and just the secrets unfolding and things starting to happen. And it's just done so incredibly beautifully. Tom Taylor is once again writing an excellent story, giving us incredible characters, and gives you those great cliffhanger moments where you're like, what? You didn't do that. Why would you do that, Tom Taylor? And then you're like, I guess I just have to read the next issue now. I'm so mad about it. You get betrayals, you get new connections, you get heartfelt moments, you get all of the incredible, wonderful things you want from a good story. You get action, you get like magical stuff coming into play, and you get these incredible colors on the art, which is, if you are a fan of those pinks and blues and purples that are getting used in comics everywhere, this book is one of the master classes in how to do them. So
I mean, it's Tom Taylor. You know, I feel like he is slowly kind of working his way into being in the same category as Tynion.
Yeah.
In terms of just being able to not only handle big two type stuff, but also is capable of creating these really amazing worlds.
Absolutely. I think that we're just scratching the surface of what we're going to see from Tom Taylor, and I can't wait to see where else it goes.
Yeah, most definitely.
All right, so those are things that have been in play for a hot minute. We're going to talk about some things that just launched this week, starting with Phil and the Punisher.
Yes, Punisher #1. This is the timeless variant.
Last of the timeless variants.
Oh, is it?
Finally complete. They've been holding the Punisher until his series come out.
I totally respect that. Now, I don't know if this Punisher series and the decision to change his logo and change kind of his storyline is in response to things that have gone on in the world.
100%.
Because it's, you know, over the years, or in most recent years, the Punisher logo has been kind of used for things that not at all what the Punisher represents. And so I know a lot of people were kind of like, well, why would they do this? What's the point? I love this issue. Like, I am back on reading the Punisher for the first time since Garth Ennis was writing the Punisher. So this is a new story. Frank Castle has his new logo. He no longer uses guns either, which is super cool. He is now what they refer to as the like top slayer for the Hand, and he is the Lord of the Hand. And he is kind of just continuing to do what he's doing, which is punishing the really bad people of this world. But instead of bullets, he's using a sword. And this issue is so cool. Like, there's this scene in the warehouse where they're loading up all these really interesting Marvel, all of these interesting weapons that are being created. Like, there's a gun in here it's called the Hulk gun. Ooh. And it's basically like they trapped gamma radiation into a machine gun. Ooh. And they're like, yeah, it's basically like if the Hulk was a machine gun. And then, of course, Frank Castle shows up and kills everyone. But they do that cool thing that you see in some movies where it's like the lights go out, you hear everyone getting killed, and then the lights come on. And he does that cool thing that samurais do where they put the blade back into the sheath, and you're like, oh, hell yes. And that's what this is. Like, you're basically just getting the Punisher continuing to be a total badass, but he looks so fucking cool. I love this new logo. I think everyone should pick up and read this book because they are going to do some really cool stuff with the Punisher. And I think it's going to be refreshing too. Like, yes, you're still going to get typical, you know, badass Punisher, but some of the stuff that they can do with this story is going to be great. But yeah, there he is, leader of the Hand now, which is such an interesting way to take this character. And the cliffhanger at the end of this issue is really intriguing. So if it's a character that you've kind of held off of because they've done weird things, you know, in the past they made him an angel very briefly. He was a Frankenstein agent for a little bit, or like he was Frankenstein. It's like they've done some pretty stupid shit with the Punisher, but this, I feel like
he went cosmic. Oh, that was Ghost Rider.
Yeah,
yeah.
But like, I highly recommend picking this up. And if you've never read a Punisher title either, you can start here, and they just pretty much tell you, like, yeah, he's the biggest killing machine in the Marvel Universe, and now he's changing things up a bit. But I'm definitely on the Punisher again.
Speaking of killing machines, we have the Devil Tree from Blood Moon Comics, which last week, this is the number one. Last week, Blood Moon brought us Usher of the Dead, which was definitely, it's the book that we're going to be talking about forever from Blood Moon Comics. When you get to the point where Blood Moon becomes a household name, you're going to be like, oh my god, did you ever read Usher of the Dead? That was their book, man. We're going to go back and we're going to be talking about that forever.
Yes.
This one kind of goes back to some of the other Blood Moon books for me, where we had like the White River Monster and the Ice Canyon Monster, where we hadn't gotten formatting and storytelling like completely where we wanted them, like as a publisher. Mm-hmm. I feel like, but I'm still like White River Monster and Ice Canyon Monster. I still really love the concept. And this, with Devil Tree, this is the story of a tree that has some kind of evil spirit in it, and anybody who gets too close to it gets mind controlled into killing other people, except for a young fisherman who just finds all of the dead people and now is implicated.
Yeah, this was kind of a tough book for me, and I think a lot of it has to do with the storytelling mm-hmm. and the way that it's laid out, because they kind of give you like 3 storylines happening at once, but they try and like time jump within those storylines. Yes. Like with the fisherman, there's a moment where there's like a 3/4 of a page where he's quitting his job.
Yeah.
And then somehow it immediately jumps back to the present. And you're like, wait, why the fuck? Why did you tell me? Like, I didn't need that.
And it's oversized, so it would have benefited from the chapter breaks that other comics are doing right now. If you would have done chapter breaks with this, I think that would have been really helpful. Mm-hmm. Like, and then put those then and now. Because they kind of, I feel like they dropped then and now at some points. Like, some of them, they got it really well, and some of them, they missed putting that bubble. And, you know, that is something that I think really would have impacted the storytelling a little bit more. But it has a really great concept, and I still think Usher of the Dead is going to be their book that sells people on Blood Moon Comics. But all of the concepts that Blood Moon has picked up so far as a publisher have been great. So we're working in the right direction as a new publisher of like pulling out to something. So I'm curious to see where this will take us, but this is definitely some of those early things you see from a publisher where, you know, the lettering is everywhere and the storytelling is a little all over the place. And we talked about that with one of the other publishers recently, where the lettering, I was like, oh, it actually looks like when they laid it on top of it, like it kind of got stretched and moved.
Right.
This is just a lot. And so it takes over the pages sometimes, but if you just read the story, you're getting an interesting story. And it makes me want to keep an eye on Blood Moon and see where they go, because this is definitely, we've got some good storytellers. It's just a matter of like some of the formatting doesn't quite draw you in as well.
I will definitely continue to pay attention to Blood Moon solely for Usher of the Dead.
Amen.
But I'm going to be entirely honest. This was a big step back for me after reading that, because even one of the things that I put in my notes is like every character in here is the generic version of that character.
It's a stereotype for sure.
The cops, very generic. The dialogue, you've heard it before. The fisherman, his wife who hates him is just like, how many times have I seen this story? This was a real tough one, but at the same time, great concept.
Yeah, and the opening of it, I was like, I am sold. And then I
I was like,
like, it's very like La Llorona opening.
Yes.
Like, and I was like, oh, this is great. Like, we're gonna see this devil tree like lead people into these crazy things, and then it kind of like falls apart a little bit in the middle and then kind of works out. I wanted to bring it and be like, you guys have to start paying attention to Blood Moon just
most
for
definitely.
that.
Yeah.
And again, yesterday, one of our customers was in, and I grabbed a copy of Usher of the Dead, and I was like, don't talk to me until you've read this. And he was like, okay. And I was like, you love horror movies, you love horror comics. I don't want to hear another word from you until you've gotten at least halfway through. And he just sat at the bar stool at the counter and started reading. And I was like, all right, I'm going to go about my day while he's doing that, because I was like, I need all of the horror fans to know that this is the book to watch
Right.
from Blood Moon.
Yeah, and I mean, give it a chance, because the other thing that you have to take into consideration, this is a new publisher.
A new publisher.
It's going to take time to find that rhythm. I think a lot of the new publishers are doing that. They'll have like one or two really good standout books, and then some kind of mediocre stuff. But I appreciate that they are taking these chances. They're finding, how they want to go about being a publisher.
Absolutely.
So even though this was a step back, in my opinion, I'm still not counting it out, because, there's a chance that by issue 3, when that rule happens, maybe
they'll have figured out their formatting and everything. And yeah.
I could at issue 3 be like, this is another great title from them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So keep an eye on Blood Moon Comics. I think there's going to be more to come from them. And if you didn't grab Usher of the Dead last week, we still have copies and you need to. Broken Eye from Scout Comics.
Yes.
This is a number 1 as well. All of the rest of them are in this pile. Did you get to read this one?
I did. This was actually the first book I read because I was drawn to this cover.
And it's Scout.
And it's Scout. So, very much like Vault, you're kind of drawn to, those labels. And you're like, oh, I have to read this. So this is an interesting book. And was kind of a weird one to start with for me, I think, because it is very weird. So you have kind of a few things going on at once here. Introducing some of the characters that are going to have an impact on this story. You have, I think it's pronounced Seamus or Samus.
Seamus.
Well, there's no H in it.
No, but there's not in Seamus.
Really?
Yeah, it's Seamus.
Okay, well, someone needs to let the pro wrestler Sheamus know that there's no H, because his has an H in it. That's just, I assume that's how it was all this whole time. I was calling him Seamus the whole time. I was like,
in your head,
I was like, Seamus. That's kind of a cool name. So the book starts off with Seamus finding a severed hand by the docks that are tied to like illegal arms. There's a lot of shady stuff that goes on at the docks. As it does, when it comes to mob type stuff. And you also have a guy getting out of prison in this. That's going to be tied to some illegal weapons. That kind of seems to be the focal point, is illegal arms selling within Liverpool, where the story takes place. And then, so I'm kind of going along as this book is happening, and I'm like, okay, this is going to be like a typical, mafia type story. And then all of a sudden you get the introduction of his eye.
Yeah.
And the purpose of his eye. And I'm not going to give too much away about his eye. I think you should read it.
You should definitely read it.
Definitely read it for that.
Yeah, because there's more to this. And it shouldn't have surprised me when I got there, because it's Scout, and there's always something like some kind of twist like that to everything they do. Especially since the book is called Broken Eye.
Right.
But yeah, it does still kind of feel, like you said, like a classic mob movie. It's set in Ireland, I believe, or at least he's Irish, and they keep talking about being Irish. So
there's ties to the whole IRA.
Yes.
But it's actually set in Liverpool.
There you go. It's set in Liverpool.
Because in the very beginning of the story, they talk about
Liverpool.
Yeah, and how Liverpool should have been the capital instead of London.
Yeah.
But kind of over the years, Liverpool kind of fell by the wayside.
And it kind of classically, it feels like a lot of those, like you said, a lot of those just regular spy, assassin, mobster movies. Like, it has that feel, but then there is that weird, it's almost like watching a movie from the 70s where you're like, I know what I'm watching. And then it's like, no, you don't.
Right.
No, you didn't.
Yeah.
You didn't know what you were watching at all.
And I like this main character, because of kind of everything. There's a fun interaction he has with this little boy, and the little boy's mom, and which was kind of funny. The thing is with this story is I thought that the mom was going to be the love interest, and then they introduce a girl at the end of the book who is probably going to be the love interest, who's the girl on this main character, is on the cover. But yeah, I was really impressed, and I think there's a lot of potential here for this story.
Yeah.
It wasn't a book that was good enough to get to the picks of the week, but I see so much potential here.
Absolutely. Matt says they look like the Beatles, which is totally funny since they're in Liverpool. Also, since you didn't know that's how Seamus was spelled, do you know how the Irish spell Siobhan?
No.
It's Siobhan.
Oh, I've seen that.
Yeah.
I have never said that name correctly.
No.
Because there are definitely stories that I've read, and I'm like, Siobhan.
Yeah, that's why I brought it up. Because I was like, if you didn't know about Seamus, you may not know about Siobhan.
Good to know.
Yeah, the
Good to
Irish
know.
spellings of things are completely different. So if you go into Broken Eye, know that there's also a lot of Irish dialect in it.
Yes, yeah.
When they're speaking, you have a lot of times where you do have that Irish dialect, and be prepared for that. You might have to reread some sentences a couple of times to see what they were saying, if you're not
Right.
prepared for it. So know that going in.
Yeah. But again, it's Scout. Check it out. It's going to be good.
Okay, so fun fact, this book actually came out like 2 weeks ago, but it got mixed in with some of our backstock and never made it onto the floor. And when we did our backroom backstock, which we'll talk about in comic news, when we did our backroom backstock pull, I was like, oh my god, this book never made it out. So this is Emo Girl, and it is from Blacktooth Comics. And it is another addition to our vampire lore of the world. I'm blaming Robert Pattinson. Okay, Robert Pattinson becomes Batman and suddenly vampires are cool again.
I'm okay with that.
Me too. But Emo Girl #1 from Blacktooth Comics. This is the story of a young girl whose dad is in jail. And he's in jail because they found out that he was killing what they described as he was just going around places and killing homeless people.
Yeah.
And they don't know why, but he was taking his daughter with him, and he got put in jail, and because she was a minor, she just has to go to therapy forever and live in a foster home. And reality is that she has, which you learn in the very, first 2 pages from her and her dad having a conversation, is she's been on these missions with her dad the whole time to kill vampires.
Right.
And nobody believed that as a logical reason for why they murdered people, so that's why the dad's in jail. But you get to see this teenage girl is kind of Buffy-esque now on her own,
Right.
and having to deal with the fact that, hey, vampires are still there. And also, you have to live in high school. And you get all the stereotypes, like the high school, cool kid likes her. And she's like, he's not my type. And they're like, well, deal with it. Maybe you'll be cool.
Yeah, this was not at all what I was expecting, because the title is called Emo Girl.
The title is a terrible title for the book.
It is a terrible title for this book, but I really enjoyed this book.
I really enjoyed this book.
Really
if the title was different, it might be in the picks of the week, but the title
Yes.
was so, the title knocks you down.
Yeah.
So don't judge a book by its title, apparently, because this book was really good.
Yeah, I definitely got Buffy vibes.
Mm-hmm.
A bit darker. One thing that was kind of odd to me, though, and I think it was the only part of the art that took it away, is it felt like this book was always taking place at night, except for this one panel. The rest of this book, I thought it was nighttime, because after she got out of the prison to see her dad in the beginning, she runs into this cop that's keeping an eye on her, and they mentioned that she's going to a concert.
Yeah.
And so I thought that's where she was going, was to the concert. And she's like, I have to go to school, and I was like, I'm pretty sure it's 9 o'clock at night right now. That was my only real issue with this.
There was the other part that relates to that where the friend is like, hey, what are you doing later? And I was like, you just had a conversation about that.
Yeah.
I thought she was going to the concert.
Yeah, I thought you were picking her up to go to the concert.
So I agree. There was a little, there was that moment where I was like, okay, that's probably just on me and my reading style. But I was like, wait a second. Where are we at?
But no, I did really enjoy this book. And because also, too, you're kind of going through it and you're like, well, are they vampire hunters? Are they just crazy? Mm-hmm. Because there's this back and forth with her new therapist, because she didn't like the last one. But there's this kind of back and forth, and she's saying, well, you're just so much of a victim. Your dad was manipulating you.
Mm-hmm.
But no, Then we get it right there towards the end of the book.
And who
Vampires
knows,
were
maybe
real.
she is still making it up. Because
No.
the dad's like told her, I need you to do something at the very beginning. So she could still be making it up and going along. Who knows? I can't wait for issue 2 to find out.
Yeah, same. I'm on board.
Yeah.
Change the title,
Change
but I'm on
the
board.
title.
I'm on
And
board.
let me know that you changed the title so I can
Yeah,
still
because
buy
she's
it.
not...
She's not emo at all.
She's
but
not
I could
emo at
see
all.
how the high school kids would call her that.
It's offensive.
And
As a former emo kid, I am
former.
offended. Okay, it's still there,
Mhm.
you know, but I hide it behind baseball hoodies. So
I
you
also
don't
think
know.
that might be why we thought it was at night, because the fact that she'd already gone to see her dad at jail, neither one of us would ever assume somebody was awake before school started
Yeah.
to go do things.
Yeah,
Like, who gets up that early?
yeah, I hit my alarm multiple times and will do everything I can to wait till the last minute to go to school. But this girl's like, no, I'm going to go talk to my dad, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And yeah, I'm like, I can't imagine this person who got up earlier than school time. Like, I lived a mile away from my high school, and I got up about 15 minutes before the bus came, if I took the bus at all. Like, half the time I just walked, because I was like, oh, I don't need to get up any earlier. So this girl getting up early enough to go do things first, I'm like, it must be nighttime. Who knows? Black Caravan has a new #1, which is the Perhapanauts, and it's this triangle. Perhapanauts have come out before. I cannot. Speaking of changing the title of your book, this is a series that goes on. This is one of those Black Caravan titles that we see one, and then it kind of probably goes into like some on like trade format or something to get more stories, or it's just a series of one-shots. I'm still not sure because I didn't feel lost at all. But this is the story of some mythical creatures who all work together to go through time and find other mythical creatures. Sometimes they have to fix stuff before it goes outlandishly wrong. Sometimes they're just wanting to meet them. And in this particular issue, that's the case, where they go back in time because they really want to see this mythical creature that none of these other mythical creatures have ever actually seen. And the chupacabra of their group just wants to be friends with the creature. And so it's kind of the story of him trying to figure out how he can be friends with this creature without messing up time. It's really adorable. And you get multiple stories. Like, they're one-shots, but there are multiple stories within that one-shot. And you've got a ghost, you've got a chupacabra, you've got a Sasquatch, you've got a time jumper, who is how they get to all of these different places. So you've got all these different paranormal creatures just in a really, like, ragtag team. And it's Black Caravan, so
Yeah.
it's the adult horror imprint kind of thing from Scout, but it's just a group.
Is it for kids?
It is. It does say rated E for everyone.
It
on the
is
back.
actually, this particular series I have found has not had anything in it that's it's not too scary.
Seems like
It's not too
of
adult.
word bubbles. for
It is
kids.
a lot to read for this one. And I think because they do only tell it is kind of like one shot with multiple stories. They kind of just tell you everything in the one story. And that's why I'm like, if you've read one of the other ones, you know, pick it up. You're not ever lost. They are nonstop titles. That's why I say they probably do collect into trades more stories with them, because the nonstop titles from Scout are usually, hey, here's one new issue, and then you can come find a trade of that whole area of time. So,
Say it one more time.
Perhapanauts. Yeah, we're gonna go with that. Naomi is back. Season 2 of Naomi. This is a season 2, issue 1 of 6. It's another miniseries. I have had every day for like 2 years somebody come in and ask me if they could order volume 2 of Naomi, and I've been like, no, because we haven't had a volume 2 of Naomi. So here it is. This is volume 2 of Naomi, finally. This is, if you don't know Naomi, she is Brian Michael Bendis' original character for DC. She's a teenage girl who kind of has a very similar story to Superman, in that, like, she had parents from a different planet who came to Earth. She has all these superpowers. She's very much, like, super strong, all these things. And she does idolize Superman. She is very big, I want to learn from him and grow in the same way, but I also want to make a difference in my community. She's got a dad who is a part of the nope, I'm gonna mess it up. I always want to say Targaryen, and that's not it. That war that Adam Strange fought in, her dad was also in it. He is from one of the planet that is not Targaryen, that I can never say without my brain tripping up.
Targaryen?
The what?
Targaryen?
No.
It's something along, like Thanagarian.
It's like Thanagarian. Yeah, there you go, Phil. I was like, is it on the back? Thanagarian. Okay, so she, her dad is from there, and then they have another friend who's from another, like, random DC world. It's super great. This is her trying to learn how to use her powers. She's already had her time with the Justice League, which you've been following along with the current Justice League series. Brian Michael Bendis is writing it, so of course she's been in it. And she's kind of like, look, I've already done the Justice League, but I still don't really know how to do things. And nobody's kind of making sure that I do, so I kind of want to take some time and figure everything out. And this is her diving back into all of that. So, Naomi is a show on the CW now. I have not gotten to see a single episode yet, but I really, really want to. Very excited about it, but this is, it's been great. It's just fun. Superhero antics, and it's nice to see a new teen girl superhero get a lot of attention and get thrown into the Justice League and be included in all of that.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard nothing but great things. I do want to start watching the show, but I need to read the series first, without a doubt.
Well, don't worry. We're going to show you that we have volume 1.
Yes, I'm going to want this.
Yes, I know.
Okay.
It's Captain Cold leading the rogues.
Yeah.
You can show them that.
Okay, yeah.
There's a new series coming up from Joshua Williamson that's called The Rogues, and I believe it's on the Black Label for DC. And it is older Captain Cold leading a team of the Rogues, and it's just all, and they're doing like one last heist. And really, did you watch Legends of Tomorrow? Ever, like the first season?
First 3 or
It
4.
makes me think of Wentworth Miller's Captain Cold.
Oh,
like,
nice.
we've got one last heist kind of in us. Also, that's my Captain Cold.
Well, Joshua Williamson, I always rave about how amazing his Flash run was. But he had a really great arc on the Rogues towards the end. I think it was like volume 12 or 13, but it was like, as a Captain Cold fan, I was like, yes, this is amazing.
I already ordered I know I did the initial order. I can't remember if I've done final order for that. But I was like, we're getting a ton of them because Matt's going to love this because it's about Captain Cold and he has a Captain Cold tattoo. So I have to make sure we have enough for Matt to sell this to his excitement for... I don't know where to go. Let's go Spider-Verse. Spider-Gwen, a.k.a. Gwen Stacy, a.k.a. Ghost Spider, a.k.a. Spider-Woman, if you watched Into the Spider-Verse, a.k.a. whatever you want to call her, apparently, is back with a new series. This is Spider-Gwen, Gwen-Verse. And so if you've been wondering why Gwen Stacy was dressed like all of the other Marvel characters, this time specifically the X-Men, on covers for the last 2 months, here's why. We've got issue 1. It does actually work really well as an additional volume to the Ghost Spider series that recently happened because it's Marvel, so we didn't completely disregard canon when we started the new miniseries. But this is Gwen Stacy, and she is back in her dimension, running the world as Spider-Gwen, and of course, there's not really a lot of bad guys where she's from. Like, they're all low-level bad guys. She's fighting the She Bodega, person at one point who just comes once a week to try to steal food from the bodega, and Gwen Stacy's like, stop terrorizing the local bodega. And so she keeps talking. They really keep painting her out as Gwen just wants attention, which is very weird for Gwen Stacy. But Mary Jane, which this is where you kind of lost me for 2 seconds, because Mary Jane told her, you've always wanted this band to happen, so just since we were kids, just so you could get attention. And the band's name is the Mary Janes. And you're Mary Jane Watson, and you're telling Gwen Stacy that she's only ever wanted attention, and that's why you're in a band with her called the Mary Janes. It's not called the Gwen Stacys, okay? Yeah. It's called the Mary Janes. Also, I have great Mary Jane problems. So anyway, Gwen it's all about, allegedly the series is all about Gwen really kind of wanting to be a hero and Mary Jane sees it as her attention seeking, and her dad kind of sees it as her wanting to be a hero. And there's this really beautiful moment where her dad's like, I don't understand why you need to be everybody else's hero and you can't just be mine. And I was like, oh my God, stop it. But in the same process, we see a girl from the future who wants to be remembered forever as her like musician name is Finale, and she wants to be remembered forever as this incredible thing. So she's working with all these villains in the future to figure out how to make herself go back through time and disperse through time and become a hero in all dimensions and all times. And at the same time, Gwen is jumping into one of her portals to go back to the 616 verse and gets blasted with this time meddling. And now we have Gwen Stacy's mixed throughout all of time as different people, and we're going to meet different versions of Gwen in every issue, I assume, but we have seen one particularly in this issue that is just it's great, and she's starting to realize, like, in order to fight this battle, she's really gonna have to fight herself, emotionally, mentally, and actually physically, as these different Gwens exist. And you got me. I don't care. It's Gwen. You sold me. You wrote Gwen on the cover, and I was sold. But it's absolutely adorable, and it's going to be a great one. This is another one that's good for all ages, and it's Tim Seeley writing it.
Also, they wrote Gwen twice.
Yes.
So it's going to have twice the Gwen.
It's going to have way more than twice the Gwen. It is going to be Gwen'd out, and I cannot wait.
I'm so excited.
Sticking with the Marvel #1s, Captain Carter, issue 1. If you saw the Marvel What If cartoon that showed us what if Peggy Carter had gotten the super serum instead of Steve Rogers and became Captain America, Captain Carter, because she's not American. This is the continuation of that. She, wakes up the same way that we find Captain America in the ice. They find Peggy Carter in the ice in the modern times. And we see what happens if Peggy was the one that was woken up now and was revived. And I love that it immediately becomes a diplomatic war because, of course, super serum was developed by the American Army, but she's British, but the ice caps that she's under closer to Russia. And so everybody's fighting over who Peggy Carter belongs to. And Peggy's like, I don't belong to any of you. I'm a human. Like, no, that's not how this is going to go down. I'm going to go home, and I'm going to think about what I want, and then I'm going to act on what I want, and y'all can all deal with it in your own male chauvinist ways. Bye-bye. She's badass. She's a great hero. I am 100% in for this. I want Captain Carter and Wonder Woman to be best friends forever.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah, because they're both these, like, women out of time, fighting these battles, being awesome. I need this character and Wonder Woman to somehow have a crossover and it be this great story of Peggy Carter and Diana Prince becoming BFFs for life.
I was trying to show some cool action stuff, because I remember watching the What If episode and really liking the concept. I mean, you know, Captain America's been around for forever. So it's kind of nice that they're, you know, doing something new,
yeah,
and bringing the character from the TV show into the comics, because, you know, there was a lot of positive feedback on her. And also it's Jamie McKelvey.
Yes, which is another great reason to love it.
Yeah, so you know the writing is going to be really well done. It's going to be a well thought out story. And I love,
so Marvel's doing their Women's History Month variants. And I love that the Women's History Month variant for this was Captain Carter as a suffragette. And it shows her, like, in front of all the women fighting for the right to vote with her shield up. And I thought that was just a fantastically gorgeous cover. And I have a couple of friends who are history teachers across the country who teach comic books in their classroom, and they all posted that cover and were like, this is the moment, like, here it is, like, let's use this, like, this is how we're going to use this in class because it's going to be great.
Yeah.
So I love it was a great first issue, and definitely a big 2 book that I'm going to be continuing on with, because it's, like you said, the writing is just fantastic the whole way through. You get a really deep story, and you are going to get to relive a lot of those Captain America moments of, like, waking up and not knowing, like, where you are. But then she does handle it. You get to see how somebody would handle it completely different than Steve did. And Steve being the military boy who's like, okay, well, I'll fall back in line, and then kind of is like, whoa, I don't agree with anything they're doing. She immediately comes out with, because she has always been the woman in the room who's like, nobody's listening to me, so I have to fight for my voice. She's already there immediately. Like that first scene where they're trying to decide what happens to her, she's just like, gentlemen, and they keep talking, and she's like, gentlemen, and finally she just like breaks the table, and she's like, gentlemen, and I'm like, okay, wherever this goes, I'm sold, because Peggy just shut everybody up in the room with all of the force of her like badassness. So can't wait. Ram, we did get a Spider-Gwen comic for your box. We got you, buddy. 3 more books for the new this week, and all sequels, essentially, or tie-ins. Radiant Red, issue 1. This is a tie-in to the Radiant Black world, obviously, but this is going to start over at the character who is Radiant Red's experience with the superpowers and all of that. And we see a glimpse of Radiant Red in Radiant Black as she is robbing a bank, and this kind of picks up with the young girl that is Radiant Red at the very beginning, and kind of talks about why she did the things she did, and where she's at in her family life. Again, like Rogue Sun, if you didn't read Radiant Black, you're not going to be lost. It doesn't really necessarily matter, and the things that do matter, they kind of well explain. Like, you've got a reporter that shows up and is like, oh, I heard you were near this bank robbery that Radiant Black was at. Can you and Radiant Red, and they got in a fight. Can you tell us what you saw? So you kind of get a little bit of those connecting points tied into it, but it is more just like Radiant Black. It's very family driven, very family or friend story driven. She is actually wanting to go on a trip to Japan and find all of her family members and culture and everything, and you see her relationship to her sister and the family life that she leads, and it's a great story. It's just like the early issues of Radiant Black where you're like, wow. And I mean, even some of the more recent issues of Radiant Black where you're like, oh my gosh, is this going to somehow break your heart with how they connect as a family and just their ties together. This is going to be another one that just really stays character driven, and the superpowers kind of fall to the background a lot of the time for that character driven story. If you didn't read Radiant Black, pick up Radiant Red. This is a good place to start. If you want to start at Radiant Black, we're going to talk about that in a minute and how you can do that. If you're kind of like, I want to know a little bit about everything and I don't really want to start at the beginning, read Supermassive, the one shot that introduces all 3 characters to you. And then you can kind of go from there with who you want between Rogue Sun, Radiant Red, and Radiant Black. And then lastly, there are 2 different stories, so we're going to hold them up at the same time, but then I'll let you switch to just doing one at a time. But this is We Live has returned with 2 books at one time. We Live Age of the Paladins Black and We Live Age of the Paladins White. They are not the same story. So if you're like, ooh, I don't know if I want black or white, hate to break it to you, but you need both. So starting with white, since you have that in your hand, white kind of goes with the government story at first. It kind of follows more of the, what did the government do once the Paladins came in at the end of We Live? How have we adapted our society? If you don't know the We Live story, let me give you a little bit of background because I feel like that's confusing. We Live is the world has been destroyed because of climate change and everything else we wanted to do. We have messed up everything, and there is a alien race essentially that says, hey, we'll save all of your people, kind of, by giving 2,500 bracelets that are going to drop down from the sky, and only kids can put these bracelets on. If you give the 2,500 kids, they get their bracelet, they must go to a beacon, we're going to pick them up, we're going to take them to another world, we're going to save them all. And then We Live is the journey of a sister and brother as they make their way across with this caravan of other kids to this beacon, everything that happens. We Live Age of the Paladins, like I said, white kind of follows more of that government entity of people like, hey, now we have these paladins who came in and We Live. We are here on Earth still. We're trying to figure out how to keep our shields up, how to keep the monsters out, how to find food, how to do all these things. We Live White kind of follows that. We Live Black, on the other hand, if you want to switch, Same artist, same writer, same everything. But We Live Black kind of picks up with the story of the brother. The younger brother in We Live kind of centers more on the older sister who's watching them, and like almost a third person narration, but a little bit more focus on the sister. We Live Age of the Paladins Black, #1, kind of follows the brother, and you see how, and the sister still, but you see a little bit of how the brother was impacted by the different things the sister did, and how she was overprotective and kept him safe. And then now, even where we are in Age of the Paladins, you see how she's still trying to protect him, and how he doesn't necessarily feel that's her job. This is a very emotional sibling relationship. If you have siblings at all, like it pulls on those heartstrings a lot, because he tells her in the beginning of We Live Black, #1, he says, well, what happens when you die? Because everybody dies. And what happens when you die? Who's going to protect, or when you get sick, who's going to protect me? And she's like, well, by that point, that'll be your job to protect me. And you'll be older and you're going to protect me by then. And so we know that that's kind of the setup for where Black's going to, We Live Age of the Paladins, especially the Black story arc is going to go, is we're going to see him protect her, because even throughout the whole first issue, she's still like, no, he doesn't go on a mission unless I go on a mission. He doesn't do this unless I, like, and they're like, no, you're run down, you're tired. And she's like, he doesn't go on a mission without me. And so, you know, this is building to this whole thing where we're going to see the way the sibling relationship plays out in this new life that they have in this new world. But it's so beautifully character driven, and the art always has these great double page spreads, draws you into the story. If you haven't read We Live Volume 1, don't worry, we have it. It's beautiful. And if you're curious, they have playlists that you can scan in each one, that you can read the playlists that go with the stories.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I always like when you bring music into the comics.
And White and Black have different playlists.
Ooh.
So, again, 2 different issues entirely. So it's super cool. I love the way it's going. These will come together at some point. I think it was, and what's cool is they tell you like continued in like this issue, at the end, but I do believe that they eventually come together in the way the story comes.
Sweet.
Yeah. I think they said in issue 2 the stories come together, actually. But we'll see. So those are the new books in stock. We'll see what we got for Picks of the Week coming up. Let's see. Oh, man, I don't even know where to start. Phil, why don't you go first with Hit Me?
Ooh.
No, that we were on in stocks.
No, now we're
on Picks of the Week.
Picks of the Week.
There's only a couple of them.
So gotta find my notes here. Okay. So this is Hit Me, issue #1 of 5 from AWA Upshot, and wow. Just wow. This book is not at all what I was expecting. Not at all appropriate for children.
No.
Honestly, not even really appropriate for teens.
No. Not necessarily, yeah.
This is very much an adult book. I'm gonna try my best to show you as much as I can. There's some nudity in this book. This centers around a girl who is
a sex worker.
Yes, she is a sex worker, but instead, well,
she is, because Christopher wrote a letter at the back.
Okay.
So.
She is a sex worker, but it's not sex.
It's BDSM. I was like to tell you how Krista Faust described it. It is about BDSM, and the things that we don't like. A lot of people don't know about BDSM. A lot of people do think BDSM has to be completely sexual, or that there has to be sex in some form. Right. That's not the case. It is more about about that bondage. It's oftentimes about it and about that pain,
right.
And about how pain can be a replacement for sex. Mm-hmm. And one of the things, Krista Faust has been a great creator for AWA Upshot. She's done Redemption, and wanted to show what it would be like for queer female in the Old West. And she did Bad Mother, about a woman who gets to play that spy role of saving her child who was sold into sex trafficking. And Krista said she really wanted to do this specific series because there are so many things that people don't understand about BDSM. Everybody thinks it's one thing, and it's not necessarily that one thing. It's not necessarily just this one thing. And that was very important to her. But we do see a girl who her job is she is a sex worker. She is a BDSM sex worker, and she has clients who pay to abuse her in different ways. They pay to, and that's hence the name Hit Me. There's different levels of pain that you can cause her, and depending on how much you want to pay. And she experiences those, and people have their ability to get off on whichever level it is that they pay her for. And one of the things Krista says in her letter at the back is sex work is real work, and we don't acknowledge that. And we see it in such a negative way, and she wanted to kind of write this book to show that, but also still tell a story that has nothing to do with it and everything to do with it. Like, that is the starting point. Like, this is what this girl does, and it puts her into the world that she's in when the story starts.
Right. Which is kind of, the typical, there's a lot of scumminess in there. Obviously that's not the case with the whole universe, but there is going to be those people in those worlds. You kind of get like the gross casino owner who abuses his power but is really just a total piece of shit. This is a pick of the week for me because of the characters. The two main characters that you're going to get in this book, Lulu, who is the sex worker, she actually refers to herself if you see her business card, she's referred to as a pain slut. Yes. Which I thought was really funny. And then her, he's not her boyfriend, but her bodyguard, who is really into her, Danny. That their relationship's really wonderful because she openly admits out loud, even to his face, that he's in love with her, but that'll never happen. And that kind of is what carries their relationship. And then, so you're kind of learning a lot about what Lulu does for a living. She really goes into explaining, like her rates and the do's and don'ts of her work. And you are introduced to one of her regulars, and something goes awry. And that's gonna kind of kick off this story. I gotta be honest, the only thing that I would say is negative about this book isn't even a negative. I really just kind of wanted a full 5-issue story.
Immediately?
Of just kind of a slice of life, if you will, about her job. And really diving into that, because I do think that's an important conversation to have, because for many years, if you talk about sex work, it's really frowned upon. There's a whole, I think there needs to be a conversation about how we shouldn't be even kink shaming people either. And I really thought that was the route that this was going to take, where it's like, hey, here's this world of BDSM. I want to tell you what it's about and maybe make you feel a little bit, I don't want to say better about it, but at least more understanding of that world without criticizing it, not knowing what you're actually criticizing. But I do think this is going to be a really fun book because of the characters, and I'm excited to see the development. I think the art's really great, and I think she's going to grow into a total badass.
Absolutely. And one thing I will say is, if you ever pick up an AWA Upshot #1, there is a letter in the back every time from the creator that showcases why the book mattered to that creator. And they go into the description of why they wrote it, because the books for AWA are set in the real world for the most part, with the exception of the Resistance universe. But everything else is kind of set real world-esque kind of situation. Right. And they work really hard to really explain why the person who's writing it chose to write it. And in this one, we get a letter from the writer and the artist, who both kind of talk about it specifically and why it impacts their lives and what they do. in and out of comic books. And so I thought, and I specifically asked you, I was like, hey, I already read Hit Me, but when you're done, can you give it back to me? Because now I have time to read Krista Faust's letter.
Right.
And that was why, because I was like, I need to know what Krista said about why this character was important to her and why she wanted to show it. And so if you ever pick up any AWA Upshot #1, just read that letter in the back, because I think it's really cool to see why the creators told the story that they told.
Right. Yeah, I think this is going to be a good series.
Yeah, absolutely. I very rarely do this, but I have, it's a double book pick of the week. And it's a big 2-book, which is a strange thing usually for me. But Child of the Amazon started this week, and you can't talk about Child of the Amazons without talking about issue 6 of Nubia and the Amazons, which is the tie-in to it. But this is a pick of the week solely for the fact that this is the first major, like, Amazonian focused event for DC. Like, that's just the Amazons. It doesn't bring in the Justice League. It doesn't bring in Batman. It doesn't bring in Superman. It is just about the Amazons as a whole dealing with their own shit. If you've been reading Wonder Woman, I'm going to give you that one. Wonder Woman, Wonder Girl, or Nubia, or all of the above, you know that there's been a lot of stuff going on with all of them. Nubia has become the queen of Themyscira, and she's been ruling that, and because Nubia is the queen of Themyscira, that means that there isn't a champion guarding Doom's Doorway, which is a huge thing in the Amazon culture. There is this door that leads to all of the darkness in the world, essentially, and all the monsters and all those Greek myths and things like that. There's nobody watching that, because that was Nubia's job prior to the situation, her becoming Hippolyta, naming her queen. Hippolyta has been with the Justice League in DC continuity recently. So, hey, check that out. DC's got some continuity going on. We're super proud of them. And Wonder Woman's she died, and then she came back, and she's been off doing her own thing. She's been in Man's World, which I love that Nubia calls it at one point. If they keep going the way they're going things to you, it might just be called Cooperation World soon. And I love that. But Diana has now returned home in this issue. But up until that, she's been dead. She's come back in the Becky Cloonan and Michael Conrad series. And then at the same time, we've had Wonder Girl going on, and we've introduced Yada Flor, and she's from the Brazilian tribe of Amazons, and she's never actually doesn't even know she's an Amazon until she gets abducted by the gods, the Greek gods specifically, and suddenly she's thrown into all of this drama that's going on. And now all 3 major tribes of Amazons have come together, and nobody knew that the Brazilian tribe existed, nor that they were coming, until Yada Flor and crew showed up. And now it's the contest of champions. It's the time to find who is going to be replacing Nubia at Doom's Doorway. But there is a lot of tension between all the tribes, because for all this time, we've only ever focused on the Themyscirans, and the other tribes don't know why. They've been kind of left out of everything. They've been left out of the decisions. Hippolyta kind of gets to make the decision has made the decisions forever for all Amazons, and things are happening. And as all of these women come together, you get a little tension between warriors. And where they fall in it, but somebody gets murdered while we're waiting for the competition to start, and things get crazy, because now we still have this competition, but we also need to solve a murder. So we see that kind of flow into Nubia and the Amazons. This is the last issue of Nubia and the Amazons. The next issue will be called Trial of the Amazons Nubia. For those who were like, oh no, Wonder Girl's over. No, it's not. It's going to be called Trial of the Amazons, right. Wonder Girl. This Trial of the Amazons comes first, then Nubia, issue 6. It will bounce back to Wonder Woman after that. Like, it'll tell you, and the great thing is they are telling you this is continued in this issue next to keep you going. Yeah, and it should also, each of them should have this little thing up top that says, like, this issue says part 1 of 7. Yes. This is a variant cover, so you're not going to see it, but on the main covers you will see this with the logo above it. And it's absolutely fantastic. It's great to finally get an event that's just about these girls, that shows these Amazon warriors as the warriors that they are. It shows, them coming together. It shows them learning. We get a murder mystery. We get all of the politics of all the different tribes of Amazons coming together. We get the battles. We get the beautiful thing of who that death impacts. We actually get to see a funeral. We get to see the way the Amazons have a funeral and the life passing that they celebrate and how they celebrate it. And we talked about books that made me cry this week. This Trial of the Amazons was one of them, in the way they did this beautiful funeral scene and the way they told that story. It's absolutely amazing, wonderful. I'm just gonna be excited for the next 5 weeks or whatever it is, seeing these amazing Wonder Women get their time in the sunshine that they all have deserved for so long. And I'm curious to also see, Nubia was told you should be queen by Hippolyta, but the other Amazon said we might need to figure out who is the ultimate queen of the Amazons, in the same way we do every other challenge. So we might have a new queen of the Amazons when this comes to an end, or at least get to see Nubia be the badass that she is. So
I'm cool with either.
Either way, ready to go. And speaking of celebrating International Women's Day and Women's History Month, Marvel put out the Women of Marvel, and this will obviously make a pick of the week for me. It's just going to highlight a bunch of women, a lot of Black Cat, a lot of Scarlet Witch, a lot of the other women that don't get the highlight as much as them. There is a Squirrel Girl story. There is also a beautiful letter from the very beginning by Gail Simone, who just deserves all that recognition if we're going to be honoring women throughout Marvel history. But it's a great thing. I love all the Women's History Month variants. I love all these stories that we're getting. And the fact that they got them actually all on the week of International Women's Day from both Marvel and DC, I'm really impressed, because they've been running behind on all of these events, and so I'm glad that they got this out. Leave it to the women issue to come out on time.
Yeah, and I appreciate that Marvel is doing this. They've been doing it with each of the months, and covering, the diversity that does exist within comics. I think, it's crazy that we still have to have this conversation. I was listening to a podcast earlier, and this is the only time you're ever going to hear me badmouth Kevin Smith in any sort of way. But when they first started doing Comic Book Men, they thought about bringing in a female to be a part of the team. And Kevin Smith in 2012 was saying, women don't read comics. That's not a thing.
I've had my issues with comic book men for that reason, and I've met most of the comic book men, and I know that they don't necessarily embody that all the time, obviously, but I've seen.
Well, and that's what they were kind of saying, is how crazy that was, and that was one of the few times that they were we had an issue with Kevin Smith, because he still feels that way, but he's that's not the case. Walt Flanagan especially was dude, tons of women come into the shop and buy books, and there's a lot of really awesome women in comics that, should be highlighted because they're just as great as the male characters. And so it's kind of a bummer that was 2012, and this conversation is still having to be had in 2022, but I'm glad that we're highlighting it, because some of my favorite comic book characters are female characters, and they're better than a lot of the men in comic books.
So I made a post on International Women's Day this week, and thank you to all of the people from Bat City subscribers and customers who actually commented on it, and all the things that were impacting of them. But that kind of talked about exactly that. That's something that we've talked about. We've mentioned on this live stream before, but even here, even in our store, I have people who come in and say, hey, Matt does a really great job with his comic book store. I'm you walked past the sign that says woman-owned business on the door. I ordered all your comics for you, and yet we still hear that. They only interact with me, and yet they still say, tell Matt I said thank you. Or I've had customers who don't shop here, who come in for the first time and are well, do you read comics, or is this your husband's collection? You still do hear that. And in my post, I talked about how I was fortunate to meet a couple weeks ago with a lot of female and non-binary store owners who have run their retail stores since the 80s, since the 90s, and have fought this battle for the last 30 or 40 years of being told, you know, you don't necessarily, oh, well, is this your husband's store? Is this? I actually had one girl that I was in this meeting with who said she owns a store with two guys, neither of which she is related to in any capacity. And every time somebody comes in, they're like, oh, well, I talked to your husband last time. And she's like, my husband doesn't come into the store. And they're like, oh, that wasn't your husband? Okay, I'm sorry, the other guy. The other one's your husband, right? And she's like, nobody here is my husband. And so she still gets that as a store owner. And there was so many women who said, you know, when I opened my store in the 90s, the guys they just could not believe it, and they had dealt with insults and people kind of attacking them for wanting to have a comic book store as a woman in the 90s. And guess what? Hate to break it to you, they're all still there. One of them runs the Comics Pro Association now. One of them, her store is has like 6 or 7 locations. She's one of the like bigger store franchises. Like, they're all still there. So I hate to break it to you, but like, you didn't push them out. You only made them stronger. If you were trying to go for that, like, women aren't going away. They're in comics. They've been in comics. They're not going away. And one of the things that I highlighted in this post is something I want to just run through really fast. It's just some female creators who have been here since the 1930s. Rose O'Neill, who did the Cupies, which is a comic strip. Martha Orr, who did Apple Mary. Marjorie Henderson Buell, who created Little Lulu. Tarby Mills, who's the creator of Miss Fury, which recently came back. Jackie Orms, who was the first nationally syndicated black female cartoonist in 1937. Marie Severin, who did everything you like at the early days of Marvel.
Easily one of my favorite cover artists, especially the way she drew Hulk.
Absolutely.
Like, the best Hulk cover artist for sure.
Absolutely. Ramona Fradon, who was the Silver Age Aquaman artist and the co-creator of Metamorpho. Ann Nacinti, who created Typhoid Mary, Longshot, and is probably the best Daredevil writer that, like, ever. She's so phenomenal. Louise Simonson, who, of course, created Power Pack and Apocalypse and helped Claremont make the greatest X-Men run that you all love. June Brigman, who was the co-creator of Power Pack, she's the artist on it. Becky Cloonan, our own Austin Becky Cloonan, who's the first female ever to draw Batman. And the Charles Moulton pen name for Wonder Woman was actually often Olive, who was William's girlfriend and one of the early writers of Wonder Woman. Then you also have all the people now like Joelle Jones, Fiona Staples, Mariko Tamaki, Kelly Thompson, Stephanie Phillips, Stephanie Williams, Gail Simone, Amanda Connor, Kelly Sue DeConnick, Megan Hutchison, Kate's our own and love of our lives, Teenie Howard, Krista Faust, Vida Yala, and so many more. There is an incredible amount of women and non-binary creators who are making all of these books that you're picking up now, not even talking about the characters, just the women and non-binary creators who are behind the scenes of those characters, who have been here since the beginning of time. And not to, like, that's not even going into a lot of the editors, who don't get the credit that they deserve. And also just even looking at people who just worked in the industry. Let's just talk about Flo, who made Marvel the home of love that it is, and why people loved calling Marvel and going into Marvel. Flo, the secretary, who before being the secretary was actually also working as one of the editors and helping with all of those things. One of the greats. There's just so many women who have impacted what you're reading in your comic books today, and I hate that we're still having the conversation that they deserve to be there.
Right.
But I love that we're still highlighting all of the work that they did. There is a million more that I cannot fit on a Facebook post that you would actually still read, but you should go find them yourselves. And love on that entire group of creators who just absolutely deserve the recognition. Yeah. Now, switching back to... let's just stick with female characters for a second. Soltiak from Scoot. This is a Scoot title, which is the YA kids to YA imprint of Scout Comics. This is number 1. I will tell you, it's going to go from number 1 directly into it's a non-stop Scoot title, so it's going to go directly from this number 1 into a trade graphic novel, however you want to call it. But this is a fantastic story. Phil, do you want to talk about why you loved it?
Yes. Number 1, black and white art. I think this is some fantastic art. But basically, the first thing I put in my notes is this is the X-Men for children.
Yes.
Because as everyone knows, including all of you X-Men fans out there, it is convoluted and messy and sometimes really hard to follow. This is kind of like a really toned down version of that. You have characters who are referred to as extraordinaries. And this kind of follows the story of a character named Elysium. And you get a bit of her backstory here. In the beginning, you get to see them, this superhero team, go in and save people from a burning building. And then it jumps forward into kind of Elysium as an older adult. I believe she's not, I don't think she's the mother of the child.
No, she's the adopted mother.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she's the adopted mother of this young girl. They have a really wonderful relationship between the two of them. And you're kind of getting like the opening up of this universe.
Yeah.
And it's great. You have the Extraordinaries. You have these characters called the Knights, which I believe are kind of like, I think they're also superheroes, but they kind of are more of like
the governing
policing.
body.
Yeah, they kind of like govern the Extraordinaries. But this art and story is just so fantastic.
It's so incredibly done. When we talk about how the Scoot books are just blowing it out of the water and how Scout is a name that you need to be paying attention to, this is why. This is an emotionally driven story. It's a character driven story. The world is already expansive beyond belief. And it's $1.99 because it's a Scoot title. So for $1.99, you are getting this incredible story to launch you into what will become a graphic novel in about a month.
Yeah.
Usually, I think it's like a month away, 2 months away from when that first issue comes out. Probably 2 months, because I think Scout hasn't pushed their 2-month thing down yet. But it's absolutely fantastic. I love the character Elysium. I love her overbearing need to be the one that kind of protects all of these kids.
Right, but I was also kind of like fed up with it.
Yeah.
You know, there's definitely this feeling of she's like, I know what comes with y'all, you know, and she's a part of it, but she's like, I know what happens with this when you guys come along. And yeah, it's, and she's kind of like the Colossus in a way. She's got, or like
Emma.
Emma Frost. She's got the diamond, coated skin. But yeah, I really like it because these are characters that you can definitely feel came from X-Men characters or other superheroes. But the art style just makes them feel so new to me. So if you're an X-Men fan who was a kid and one day you're going to want to introduce your kid to the X-Men, this is probably the best way to get them started.
Right, start them here. It's great. I love that not only did they label it a Scoot imprint title, but then they also put that it was YA as a reminder that, like, this one's a little bit more than what the normal Scoot titles are. It's not necessarily, it's a little bit heavier than it would be for kids, a little bit more violent than a normal kid title. But it's still only $1.99. It's still part of that YA kids line that they have. It's still nonstop, so you're going to get that graphic novel, and you definitely want to. Whether you're an adult with or without a teen in your life, like, grab this book. You're gonna love it.
Yeah, I was really impressed, and I don't know why it shocked me because I mean, Scoot has. I feel like every Scoot title that's come out, I've immediately been like, I love this book so much.
I keep asking them for adult sweatshirts first with the Scoot label on them.
I mean, I still need a Soulstream t-shirt.
I know.
Please, Scout, make Scoot. more popular, because I do. It's really impressive that for an imprint that is primarily kids' titles, as an adult, they're some
They're
of
all
my
my
favorite books.
favorites.
Like, I'm really enjoying all of these books, and I mean, you just saw the art in that book. That is some fantastic artwork. And so don't sleep on Scoot titles.
I am very excited to see all of the publishers picking up kid and YA, like starting kid and YA imprints, and just elevating what, like, not going down, treating it the same way that YA books and middle grade books are treated in the prose novel world, where they don't like try to level it down in the sense that they like take away some of the art or take away the storytelling. Like, they are treating it in the same way that YA and middle grade have been treated in the prose world, and I love that. And those are those standout books, and those are the publishers we're going to see continue to be successful, are the ones who constantly are like, no, we're just telling great stories about and for kids, and with some of the best art that you're going to see. Speaking of great art and great storytelling, our last pick of the week is from Image Comics. It is number 1 of Little Monsters by Jeff Lemire and Dustin Nguyen.
Yes, I mean, that alone.
That's your selling point.
I don't think there's been a Jeff Lemire title in the past 12 months that I haven't just lost my mind over how impressive it is. And I like that he is doing stuff with Sorrentino, but also going out and still finding other really talented artists to work with. This is a vampire book.
Yes.
So if you are looking for more vampire titles, this is the way to do it. Because this one's kind of, it's a fun, in a weird way, it's a nice new story. I feel like there's a manga that's very similar to this, but I can't think of the name of that manga. But this is about a group of kids who, from what I've gathered, it's an abandoned city.
Yeah.
And they kind of hang around and play games and kind of do their own thing in this city. And you find out that they're waiting for someone to return. What I believe is like an elder vampire, like a Dracula type. But they are, they mention it several times throughout that they kind of just do the same thing every day.
They're bored.
But this is a great first issue because you get introduced to all these different characters. You have these 2 young twins who are very goofy. Like, think of like the Lost Boys in a way from the Peter Pan stuff. You get that vibe. You have the Kurt Cobain kind of songwriting vampire kid who's a little bit older. You have the kind of artsy creative one. But they're all characters that, like, in this first issue, you're like, oh, I like this character. Ooh, I really like this character. Oh, I really like this character. And the setup is just, it's such a great setup. I love something that we've seen a lot in comics lately, primarily black and white issues
with that spot coloring.
Just have the spot coloring. And of course, because it's vampires, you're going to get red as that spot color for this one. But I mean, it's Jeff Lemire, so I know the story is going to go somewhere really fantastic.
And stupidly emotional.
Yeah, you're going to cry. You're definitely going to cry in this book. There's definitely some lines in this where I was like, oh no. I feel like you said that to hint at future things that I'm not going to be okay with.
Now you just, like, after you read Jeff Lemire so long, you just start taking note of, like, I'm gonna write this down. This is the moment that my heart was trampled on, but I didn't know it. And this book definitely has a lot of those, like, setups where I'm like, oh man, here we go again.
Yeah.
I just got over the last book you broke my heart on, and by got over, I mean not over at all.
No, I mean, I still think of May's book.
I still think of May's book all the time.
And we just voted on it too.
Yeah.
Sadly it lost. But, yeah, I mean, this is a powerhouse creative team. Great art. Dustin Nguyen is an extremely talented artist. And these are characters that you're just going to get sucked into this world. And, of course, it leaves on a cliffhanger, like, oh, it's time to break up that monotonous kind of life that these kids are living. But, yeah, I mean, in a world where we have a ton of vampire books right now, this is at the top of the pile for me.
Right? They were like, hey, there's a lot of vampire books, but like this one's Jeff Lemire.
Yeah, it's Jeff Lemire.
And so you're like, okay.
And I think where you're going to get vampire tropes throughout the story, I think there's going to be a lot of things that are going to feel new and refreshing.
Absolutely.
In the vampire genre. And of course it's kids, so you're going to have that kind of like Stand By Me sort of, feeling to it, where you're like, I love these characters so much.
Absolutely. I can feel that. I
do.
already do. I'm like already hooked. I'm going to hand you this. While I prep for the fact that we are going to go through some things in stock. This is our speed round where we kind of just tell you these books are here. Don't miss them. So, all right, we got a couple. I'm going to flip this over so that I can actually go in the right order. So, things in stock this week at Bat City are going to be King of Spies, issue 4. Yes, we are already on issue 4. This is Mark Miller.
I believe this is the last one.
Is it? Ooh, go to the end and see if it's like to be continued. Do you want me to go to the end?
No,
okay.
I don't mind. Yeah.
Yeah, all
this
right.
is the final issue. I forgot that they solicited this as a miniseries.
Yeah, I did too. So yeah, this is in that Kingsman universe. This is kind of our spy who's ready to get out. Ready, he's dying. He's moving on. He's ready to go. Check it out. Can you change our slide?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Yeah, think of like all the Liam Neeson movies you've seen recently, where it's like the old badass guy.
Yeah, who's just trying to wrap things up before he goes.
Yeah.
Eternals, issue 10. Eternals is leading towards that Eternals versus X-Men versus Avengers. There is going to be a huge, massive Marvel event. You need to grab it. Devil's Reign, issue 5. We are plowing through the Devil's Reign world, and yet it is still not over. Keep going. Detective Comics 1056, speaking of Mariko Tamaki, still writing the Detective Comics. Amazing Spider-Man 92, we're working our way towards Wells taking over. We are not quite there yet, so keep going with this Amazing Spider-Man story that's kind of connecting you to your Ben Reilly and all of that. Spawn 327. Spawn is still going. It's like it is the longest running indie book. Still going. People ask me all the time, or they'll come in and they're like...
Still only $2.99.
Only $2.99. People will come in and say, I can't believe... I used to really like Spawn back when that was happening. I'm like, it's still happening.
It'll never end. As long as Todd McFarlane is breathing, Spawn will exist.
X Deaths of Wolverine came out this week, and also X Lives of Wolverine came out this week. They both dropped this week because we had a printing delay that caused them to come out the same week. Thor 23 is out this week. This is the end of the God of Hammers arc. I was like, what's the word I'm looking for? So, and I've heard crazy things happened in it. A Strange Academy issue 17. They did, I believe, just announce that Strange Academy is going to continue, but Scotty Young is going to be stepping away. So there will be a continuing arc of Strange Academy. It won't end where they thought it was going to end, but it sounds like Scotty Young might not be the writer on it anymore.
Weird.
Venom issue 6. Ram V writing on this one. Don't quote me on that. I was just told that this week about the Scotty Young thing, but that's what it sounds like is happening. Batman Urban Legends issue 13. Talk about, I can't believe that one's still going on. Crazy, but there is a lot of Gotham stories still happening in that for the rest of your Bat family. Future State Gotham issue 11. The only Future State direct title still going.
That's crazy.
I Am Batman issue 7. We've got Joker, the final issue 13, James Tynion's story of the Joker, and I guess that by default his Punchline story will come to an end here.
Hey.
Superman, Son of Kal-El, number 9 from Tom Taylor. That is our International Women's History variant, and it's gorgeous.
Great cover.
If you didn't come into the store this week, our New This Week wall was only, the front New This Week, display was only the Women's History Month or International Women's Day variants. Devil's Reign Moon Knight tie-in, issue 1. Everybody was waiting for it. I haven't read it, but you guys were waiting, so tell me if you loved it in the comments. Devil's Reign Superior 4, issue 3. There's a lot of Devil's Reign going on. It is the first tie-in that first event Marvel has had in a long time where everybody wants the tie-ins.
Wow.
Sabretooth, issue 2. Sabretooth's got his own new series. You should be picking it up. Han Solo and Chewbacca, issue 1 is out this week. Critical Role Tales of Exandria, The Bright Queen continues on. If you are fans of the Critical Role show, you should be grabbing these comics because they are great tie-ins. The Killock, The Artisan Wraith, this is issue 1. If you read The Killock, the previous volume, this is a sequel to that. Last Fight Out, issue 5 of 6. This is one of the Star Force titles. It's kind of faced a lot of delays, but it is closely coming to the end. Norse Mythology, volume 3, I believe, issue 2. This is the comic adaptation of Neil Gaiman's Norse Mythology book, which, if you are fans of Norse Mythology, I've heard is great. We have a UT student who is actually getting her degree in Norse Mythology and buys the comic to understand the things she's missing. The Wrong Earth, Trapped on Teen Planet. This is going to lead into the new Wrong Earth title that is coming up soon. So if you are a fan of The Wrong Earth, now is the time to jump back in because there is going to be a new volume coming soon.
And it's ahoy.
That is it. All right. Now we got some trades. Sorry, I had to take a drink of this delicious wine. What wine are we drinking again, Bill? Do you want to tell them?
19 Crimes.
19 Crimes by Snoop Dogg.
B-O-double-G. Is in the wine game. Because why not?
Because why not? You're Snoop Dogg.
not?
Why not? All right. We've got a lot of trades in stock. So some that have been in stock that aren't new this week, but just in stock. Since we've been talking about America's role in Hawkeye, I wanted to bring out that we do have America Chavez Made in the USA, which was the miniseries America got last year. If you are wanting to jump into Trial of the Amazons, we have Wonder Woman Afterworlds, which collects all of the Becky Cloonan and Michael Conrad Wonder Woman so far, issues 770 to 779. And this is fantastic. Absolutely wonderful. I love that story so much. That is how Wonder Woman came back to life in that story. Afar by Lila Del Duca. This is a great story. We did a book club on it. If you never got to read the rest of it past that issue 1 that we did in book club, you definitely need to keep going. The art alone is phenomenal. Redemption, volume 1 from Krista Faust. If you are picking up Hit Me and you're like, I want more from Krista Faust, this is what if Sharon Stone was the person that they used instead of Clint Eastwood for all of these like old Western kind of movies, or even John Wayne. Like, this is like, we're going to put the badass woman in there as the savior of the town in the Old West movie. It's badass. Krista Faust is badass. I need to meet Krista someday.
And it's only $10.
It's only $10 because it's AWA. Naomi, volume 1. They come with the TV show cover now, but this is the same volume 1 from the original Naomi run. And it collects everything of the 1 through 6 of the original series. We Live, volume 1. If you never got a chance to read We Live and you're interested in Age of the Paladins, here's your chance to catch up. It's fantastic, beautiful story, emotionally and artistically. You just need to read it. Radiant Black, volume 1 from Kyle Higgins. If you are interested in Rogue Sun, interested in Radiant Red, you read Supermassive and you're like, what the hell is this? This is your way to get into the Radiant Black world from the very beginning. And is that a $9.99
It is.
$9.99.
$9.99.
Wow. And then I have all the issues after that, I think. New in stock this week, or back in stock at least for this one, is The Man Who Fucked Up Time from Aftershock. I think it might have actually just come out, but this is the entire series, issues 1 through 5, of a story about a guy who goes back in time and definitely messes it up.
It was a fun story.
It was a fun story. Volume 2 of Space Bastards is back, and look at how huge that is. That is a massive trade.
Wow.
Yeah. And Volume 2, and it is issues, does it say?
It does.
It does not say. Humanoids. Oh, is it there? It said Volume 2. Nope, doesn't. Well, it's the issues that aren't in Volume 1. There you go. That's what it is. Great story.
Wait.
Fun.
That can't be right. This says issues 7 through 9, and then Space Bastard special delivery and bonus stories.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, maybe
this
it's
whole
3
thing
issues,
collects 3.
and then extra stories.
Yeah.
That makes sense. If you didn't read Space Bastards, it's what if the U.S. Postal Service became bounty hunters. And the more, like, your package changed hands, the more money the deliverer made by the time they got it to you. It's a ridiculous story, but it's fun nonetheless. Save Yourself from Boombox. What if the magical girls of Sailor Moon were actually the bad guys? This is the entire series. You definitely want to read it because it's a lot of fun.
Yes.
And then lastly, volume 1 of Destiny New York from Black Mask. All of these people that you hear about in all those kid stories and YA stories that have prophecies put on them, they all go to one school to learn how to fulfill their prophecy. And this follows the story of one young girl who fulfills her prophecy at like age 11 and then is stuck in the school forever after that because she doesn't really know what her purpose is since she's already fulfilled her prophecy. And she falls in love with a girl named Lilith, who is in fact the subject of her ex's prophecy, who she's supposed to kill. So, lots of drama. This started as a web comic, so the creator has already told us there's at least 40 issues ready to go that they've already completed. It's fantastic. It's another one of those all black and white series, and we have gone through, I think, almost 2 arcs and a Valentine's Day special already, and you definitely need to be reading this. This is an absolutely fun book.
There you go. All the trades.
All the trades. And if you don't know what a trade is, it's basically a collection of issues. It's usually issues 1 through 4 or up to 1 through 6, sometimes 1 through 8, but it's usually an arc of a story combined into one collection so that you can pick it up and read it if you didn't want to read the single issues or if you missed out on some issues. It's not something you come in and trade for. It is just something, it's called trade as in the trade paperback form from the publishing industry term, but that's so confusing for a lot of people, so it is a collection of issues all together. Not an original graphic novel, which was never printed in comic form. And we got some news, I think. So, comic industry news. We've been talking about AWA Upshot a lot tonight, and 2 things from them is 1, Devil's Highway is finally coming back.
Nice.
Volume 2 of Devil's Highway was officially announced, which is super exciting. That was one of my favorites of their initial run of stories. We do have Volume 1. If you're like, I need to figure out what that is before Volume 2 comes out, you do. You definitely do. It's the story of a trucker ring of people who are doing some murders, having some cult-like activities, and a girl who's trying to figure it all out. Great series. Grab Volume 1 before Volume 2 comes out. But also, the second AWA Upshot comic to be optioned happened this week with Old Haunts, which we also have trades of. Old Haunts is... Actually, probably have single issues of. Old Haunts is the story of a mobster family, and one of the members of the family is kind of, they're old, they're done. He's ready to get out, and he is being haunted by the memories of all of the people that they've killed and all of the bad decisions they've made. And that is optioned for a movie, I believe. I could be wrong, but it did get optioned this week, so that's exciting. Congratulations to AWA Upshot. You got something? You're pulling something up.
I do. I noticed this earlier, a story that came up. So, Emily Hampshire, who is from the TV show Schitt's Creek, fantastic show. If you have not watched it, it's hilarious. Created by Eugene Levy and his son Daniel Levy. Wonderful, wonderful, hilarious comedy show. One of the characters on there, Stevie, she is going to be doing her own graphic novel. It is called Amelia Airwood, Basic Witch.
Which I'm very excited about because it's a story of being the only witch in a very conservative family, which I identify strongly with. And it's coming from Z2 Comics.
Yes.
Which we're really excited about. If you don't know Z2 Comics, most of what they do is usually with musicians and other kind of pop culture connections like that. They did the Poppy graphic novel. They did the graphic novel with Joan Jett.
Yes.
They are huge, and I'm glad you brought that up. I meant to bring that so I could show it off, but I totally didn't bring my stuff that I was going to show off.
Oh, the Poppy stuff.
Yeah, I'm going to let you talk about that a little bit more while I run and grab that.
But yeah, Z2, they're really great. They've teamed up with some rappers as well, Vince Staples, Czarface, who was a member of the Wu-Tang Clan. But a lot of what they do, I actually was introduced to them because they did, what's the Dio album? Holy Diver. Is that the name of it? I don't think that's the name of the album, though.
That's the song.
It's the song. maybe whatever the name of that album is. That was the first one I saw where they were like, we're going to do the graphic novel version of this Dio album and kind of put it out there. They do some really great stuff, and the one thing that I really love when I see their social media is that all of the creators that they bring in terms of the musicians really are involved in these things. Like a lot of the times, I remember seeing pictures of Vince Staples at comic conventions, who's like, he's really excited to talk about this story that he did. But Z2 is one of those that I'm like, I really love what they're doing because it meshes music and comics together, and those are two mediums that go together so well. So
yeah.
But yeah, you got this super cool package.
So I met Josh, one of the Joshes actually, from Z2 during the Comics the Comics Pro Retailer Summit a couple weeks ago, and he was there to talk about Z2. And I said, oh my God, before you start, I have a question. And he said, okay, do you know who we are? Like, what's your question? I said, yes, my question is, why are none of the Poppy graphic novels in stock? I need them. I'm running out of them at my store. I specifically said, we sell Genesis 1, which is on my constant Shannon pick. And this is actually the last copy I have in stock until the ones that I just ordered come in. But this is Poppy, who you may know from the YouTube sensation, like, I'm Poppy. She's had a huge music career since then, which a lot of people don't know about. She wrote this graphic novel that kind of coordinates with one of her last pop albums, and all about just humanity's redemption or damnation through our destroying of the world. And I was like, we have such a huge Poppy clientele at our store, and I am a psychotically huge Poppy fangirl. That's how I process all of the comics on Tuesdays, through Poppy's like full playlist. Every Tuesday, I feel bad for volunteers who come because they have to listen to Poppy for like 6 hours. And I actually don't feel bad at all. But I was telling Josh, I just really want Inferno, and we've never been able to get it into the store. And again, this is my last copy of Genesis 1. I need them to be back in stock. And he said that Z2 supplies the creators with their comics when they go on tour. And so they actually aren't in stock necessarily at Diamond because they want to send them out on tour with all the comics so other people can read them who might not have a comic book store or don't know that they're making comics because they're not in the comic book world. So, which, by the way, the designer and artist on all of these, Tyler Boss.
Makes sense.
So I walked outside the other day and had a package outside from Z2 Comics that blew my mind. So I want to shout out to Josh for this. First of all, I don't even know where to start. There are 3 regular variants for the Poppy graphic novel for Inferno, and I got all 3 of them in the mail from Z2, which alone blew my mind. I was like, oh my God, look, all 3 variants of the hardcover are here. It's amazing, which they're all hardcovers. But I'm like, oh my gosh, all 3 variants of Poppy's Inferno are here. Blew my mind, and I thought that would have been enough. But then there is also the Poppy statue that they made that they also sent me. And this is your Poppy idol, which I thought was incredible. Then on top of that, they sent me the Poppy Music to Scream 2 vinyl, which is the album that Poppy made for you to listen to while you're reading Inferno. So this is the vinyl of it, and it's got all of the tracks on it. Incredible. Got this as well in this package. And then, I feel like I should not be allowed to do this with wine. They also sent the deluxe edition of the Poppy Inferno in here, and I have not actually done this myself. I always make Matt do it because I'm nervous.
I don't want to do this because it seems difficult.
But in here,
yeah, that's what I was afraid of.
I got it. Are 3 art prints, and well, technically 4 art prints, but there are 3 art prints, and we're gonna show those off. And then a small art print that is actually hand signed by Poppy, which is incredible. Thank you so much for that. And the deluxe hardcover edition of Poppy's Inferno.
You can order this.
And you can order this from Z2 Comics.
Yikes.
Right now it's not in stock at Diamond, but you can order it directly from Z2's website or from Poppy's website, I believe. Or if on April 9th, Poppy will be here in Austin. So if you're in Austin, she'll be playing Emos April 9th, and Z2 will have sent her with a lot of this gear that you can buy from her. So once again, I just want to give a huge shout out to Josh. He was so excited that we've been selling Z2 books in the store, and that I was a huge Poppy fan and was telling everybody about how great this book was, that he actually just sent all of this to me personally. So thank you, Josh, at Z2, and thank you, Z2, for working with Poppy and making these incredible things and sending them out to us. And as soon as the tour is over, he said they'll be able to put more of the Inferno back in stock. So we should have Poppy's Inferno back in stock once Poppy's tour is over. But until then, buy tickets to see Poppy at Emos on April 9th, because our volunteer team will be there.
Finally.
I know.
Finally.
We bought these tickets for, the show was originally October 2021, and it got delayed, and they sent an email that said, if you'd like to cancel your tickets, you can, or you can just hold out and hope. And I had all the tickets, so I got the email, and I was like, we are not getting rid of these tickets. We will see this show whenever it is. And now here we are. We can't wait to see you, Poppy. And if you haven't read Genesis 1, read it. If you're an educator, Genesis 1 has an educator guide at the back of it for how to use it in your classrooms to talk about the book itself, to talk about literary analysis, but also to talk about some of those themes of climate change and all of those, which is another great and wonderful thing that Z2 does, is add those into a lot of their books. So shout out to Z2. If you're not buying Z2 Comics, now's your chance. You should totally get in on those. Other comic book news, we pulled out not all of, the back stock from our back room this week. So there is a new section in the store where the couch used to be. I know we're going to work on getting more seating in because we're sad we moved the couch out. But we put, where the couch used to be, there is now a section called Backroom Backstock. The signs will tell you that we have no idea what's in the boxes. So whatever you find in there, you find in there. It is not just backstock from the last couple months, but things that we had pulled out of the bins previously to make room for other stuff are now back out on the floor in those bins. So there's been a lot. I know one of our customers pulled out a stack like this tall of High Republic and High Republic Adventures this week, of books that were just in the back room that we didn't price up, we just put out. So come dig through those bins and find those backroom gems that I just didn't want to deal with being in my back room anymore, that have been hiding back there. And it will continuously change. Every week there will be new stuff in there, because I will keep adding things to it over and over again as I find more stuff in the back room. So this is a great way to find issues that just got missed. Second prints, regular prints, variants, who knows? I don't. They're in alphabetical order, roughly, so it's fun to dig through it's not too stressful, but you get to find all kinds of fun stuff. So, come have fun with that. Last week, there's a lot of new, really cool books out next week. I'm not going to go through every book coming out next week, but just some of the cool ones. Slumber issue 1 from Image is coming out. A lot of you have been excited about that and already added it to your pull list, but it is all about a dream detective, so I'm very excited. There is a one-shot for Stillwater that's called Stillwater Escape. That's actually to talk about how people finally get to leave the town of Stillwater and lead into our finale. So we are coming to the end of Stillwater from Chip Zdarsky. All Nighter, also from Chip Zdarsky. This was originally a Comixology exclusive, finally in print as a trade paperback. Also a vampire story that Chip Zdarsky did on Comixology last year. Carnage is getting a new series that actually launches this week. Demon Days has its next piece of the puzzle. Reckoning War, Trial of the Watcher. So if you've been reading Fantastic Four, you've been leading up for Reckoning War, it's finally here. Alice in Borderland is out. I'm very excited about this Alice in Wonderland retelling. It is an original graphic novel. It looks phenomenal. I can't wait to read it. Anything with Alice in Wonderland, I'm sold on. The Trade for Bunny Mask finally comes out this week. So if you've been wondering what we all talk about all the time, or who Matt was for Halloween, or any of those things. The chance to read it is finally here in trade format. Bunny Mask from Aftershocks trade is out. A couple of things that are continuing. Heavy Metal Drummer issue 2 hit shelves this week. Come early, come faster. Let me know in advance you want that, because I am out of Heavy Metal Drummer number 1. So if you want number 2, you better get in there fast, because that book was one that people jumped on, and yet nobody has added to their sub list. So if you enjoyed number 1, you better add it to your sub list before number 2 gets here, because I'm not going to save it for you. That's part of the game. Life Zero number 2 is out. That is the Chichetto story that's going through a blaze right now. That is a zombie-esque story. I know we've got a lot of Chichetto art fans. This is the one you want to pick up. Out of Body hits trade paperback. We've got a new quad book coming out this week. Let's see if it can top Trent.
Boy. It's gonna be tough.
Good luck beating Trent the Ghost Exorcist. Yeah. We'll see. And then Snelson is getting a trade paperback from Ahoy, so I'm excited to see that. And the Wonderbound imprint from Vault is going to get volume 2 of Rassel Castle, which is also Paul Tobin, the writer of Bunny Mask. His kids' book from Vault is coming out. It is a cute story of a young girl who just wants to be a wrestler, but her family thinks she needs to be a princess. And I love it. So, you got any more news before I send them away?
That's it.
No?
That's
okay. Well, all right then. Well, it's going to be a crazy week. If you're here in Austin, we know that, like, traffic's going to be insane. It's South by. There's all kinds of stuff going on. We understand, like, it's a crazy week. We hope we'll see you still this Wednesday, if we through next Sunday. If not, we'll definitely see you here on Sunday for Wind Down Your Weekend. Be safe out there this week. Make good choices. And enjoy. And happy reading, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.